We acknowledge that we appreciate the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order. Just before we start the meeting, we have Kathleen Waxer. She's from the municipality of Jasper. As you know, Jasper has suffered a tremendous, horrendous fire in their township and the surrounding area. And this past week, Morgan Kitcher, 24 years old, Rocky Mountain House firefighter, died battling the Jasper fire. And Kathleen just wanted to share a few words with you about what's taking place in Jasper. I can tell you that her home was burnt to the ground, and that's why she's still here. Her husband flew in to be with her, so she doesn't know when she'll be going back to Jasper. But Kathleen, do you want to just come up to, and we do have some images from the municipality of Jasper of the devastation. So Kathleen, if you just hit the red button, there's a button there that has speak, and we'll just leave it with you. Kathleen. Councillor Kathleen Waxer.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I have a daughter who currently lives in Summerside, but did live in Charlottetown for a long time. I've always follow the Charlottetown, a great place, on Facebook, and love to see how you communicate with your residents. So it's a real pleasure to be able to see your council chambers and to meet all of you. It's been almost 3 weeks since the wildfire changed our lives and permanently altered the landscape of the town site of Jasper and in Jasper National Park. Our community is hurting, and we're supporting each other as best we can during this difficult time. It's particularly difficult because we're not together. We're spread all over the country. I'm probably the furthest, but I've met with a couple of other Jasper residents who are also on PEI. The wildfire crews, the first responders, the incident command staff from both the municipality and Parks Canada, as well as countless others, have worked tirelessly to create conditions for the safe re-entry of our residents and business owners later this week. One interesting factor about Jasper is because we're situated in a national park, this whole incident was run under unified command because it affected a great deal of the national park as well as the town site. This morning in our council meeting, they the incident commander for Parks Canada has worked on other incidents and said this was absolutely the smoothest of all of the ones he's been on, despite the enormous scale. We're very, very thankful for the investment in training and preparation of incident command and the municipal staff as it assisted in the coordinated emergency response we saw during the fire. Prior to being elected in 2021, served as the Director of Community and Family Services for the municipality for 38 years to that, and was instrumental in creating the emergency social services plan. So it was interesting for me and a point of pride to see how well that has rolled out. We're now talking about re-entry. There was an announcement yesterday that Jasperites may return to the community on August 16th as part of a voluntary re-entry. At that time, the evacuation order will be reduced to an evacuation alert because the fire is truly not completely contained. For many, it will be the first time seeing our town and their properties since the fire came through. In fact, for most. I ask that you please keep everyone in your thoughts this week, as it will be a very difficult time for our community members. I thought I could share that a great number, I think almost 400 of the community, of the people's homes have disappeared in this fire. And it was, but we were very fortunate in that our firefighters and the wildland people, and due to fire smart work prior to the fire, we were able to have to preserve our schools, our hospitals, the municipal buildings that, and some homes more on the north end of the town. Our mayor very wisely made the comment that if there are homes for some, there's a community for all. When I went to bed here in Summerside the Wednesday night, I was anticipating that to wake up, well, of course I didn't actually sleep, but the fact the entire community would have been wiped out. It was the flames were 100 feet high and created its own weather system, which created a force that just blew it into the town so quickly. So we were so grateful that there is some elements of the community still standing. Recovery will be a long journey for Jasper as we adapt to the new normal. And the new normal includes watching the fire burning on our landscape because of the mountainous environment. The mayor was there this morning and said there was very visible high flames on the mountainsides. Support from our municipal friends, such as what we've received from Charlotte Town Council, mean a lot as we navigate what lies ahead. We would love to welcome you to Jasper once we have time to reestablish our visitor services and supports. Our town will heal with time and effort and with the spirit of the people who call Jasper home. Thank you, and I included some photos. This is my home before and after. I haven't seen it yet. My son, who's 30, was the only one of us in town that night, and you noticed he put our propane tanks out on the end of the driveway away from the house. I've included also some photographs of our of the wildlife. There was amazingly, many of the wildlife know what to do in this scenario. That family of 3 grizzly bears at the front were actually wandering on our street earlier in the season, probably a month before. They were a well-known family of grizzlies, and they apparently hunkered down in the banks of the Athabasca River. The 2 photographs on the other side are my neighborhood, and the first photograph you could see our son's friend that he grew up with, saw the roof of their home on fire, and about 3 minutes later you can see that the whole street was on fire. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to feel the support from our fellow municipal councillors, and thank you very much for your time.
Kathleen, Very much appreciate that. I met Kathleen at the FCM in Calgary, and just by chance, she said, Philip, your daughter, Emma Louise, has worked with my daughter up in Summerside, so we made the connection, and then I saw her this past, I think in June, she was down in June to Summerside, and this happened in the meantime. So our prayers are with you. I just wanted to share this with you. She was in the area, and I want to thank you for coming here today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. One other quick thing I thought I would mention is that been working hard to prepare for the Communities in Bloom judges to come September 3rd. Well, that is clearly canceled, but I understand the Communities in Bloom conference is in Charlottetown in October, and I'm hoping that as a respite from all the heaviness of being home, that I hope to join hopefully some of you at that conference then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Councillor McKinnon, what agenda item?
Under planning with community fridge.
6. Okay, thank you. Any others? Okay. Any other conflicts of interest? Okay. Approval of the agenda. Deputy, did you want to move item number 4 to after planning and heritage? Did you want to? Apparently, the legal can call in.
Yep, that would be fine. I believe that we'll do the environment sustainability first. And
That's
then,
right.
And then planning, and then into close, back out to continue the meeting.
So,
I can move that.
second by Councillor Bernard. Will you second that to go?
Yep, sure.
Okay. So what we're looking at doing is moving 6.5, which is environment sustainability, to 4, and then after that will be planning, and then we'll go into a closed session. So those will be the two first items on the agenda when we go into close. I believe Karen Campbell will be coming to us by Teams? Okay. Any questions on that? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Okay, 10-0. Okay, so I need adoption of the previous draft minutes, regular meeting of July 9th, 2024, public planning meeting July 10th, 2024, special meetings July 23 and July 24th, or 29th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Bernard. All those in favor? Okay. Business arising out of the minutes. No business? Okay, so we'll go to the first planning and reports. Business arising out of the minutes? Good. Okay, reports of standing committees of council. So the first one is environment sustainability. And I think, is Anna and Jessica here? So do you wish to present first, Councillor Bernard? And I believe, Councillor Bernard, we've moved this so that you can leave early because you have a family engagement, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to start your report?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for that. So as everybody has the minutes in their package, I just do have some highlights, Your Worship. Monthly transit ridership for July was 127,563, and Your Worship, that's a 23% increase year over year from last July. So overall, it was 851,811, which is also a 23% increase from last year. So transit is continuing to grow, which is good news. The other thing, Your Worship, T3 transit route and schedule expansions. will be rolling out on August the 27th. Changes include more weekday peak services on routes 1, 2, and 3, and moving to hourly service on Saturdays for routes 2, 3, and 23. Routes 2/2A, 3/3A, and 23 are being consolidated and renumbered to simplify the map of the transit network and make it easier for residents to understand. So full details will be publicly announced on August 20th, at which point residents should refer, Your Worship, to the T3 website for the full details. And I will say that there's a bus stop inventory project, Your Worship, underway. Should be completed by the end of August. This will enable staff to create a multi-year plan for improvements to the bus stop infrastructure for safety and accessibility. And the last thing, Your Worship, applications are live on the city website for Operation Relief. This program provides Charlottetown residents with very low-cost, large climate-resilient trees. We had the program last year, as you recall, and it went over very well. So it's open again, so just elected officials to be aware that if any of your constituents looking for a tree replacement, and this is on private property, that this program will provide that for them. So, Your Worship, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, and there's 3 resolutions for council consideration.
Any questions? Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Thank you for your report, Councillor Bernard.
Okay.
I received some phone calls from seniors that find it very difficult during the heat wave that we've had in the last several weeks. Some of them, through no fault of their own, can't afford to take taxis, and the transit stops are a few blocks away. One thing I'd ask, if you could just take this under consideration. One time in the city of Charlottetown, we had a transit bus that would go to all the seniors' homes and pick up the seniors and take them to their respective destination.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could look at that, see what the possibilities are. Again, I'll reiterate, it's very difficult for our seniors to walk in those humidity and heat waves. It's very uncomfortable and in some cases very unhealthy. And I just ask if you would just have a look and see if there's a possibility we can have a bus that's designated truly for our seniors, where we'll come to that particular senior's home, pick them up, take them where they want to go, and bring them back. Again, it's just a suggestion, and I think it'd be a great investment, and it'd be great for our seniors.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
We'll take it under advisement. We used to have that, as you know, so I'm not sure once the T3 transit program started whether that was doing the routes or not, but we'll certainly bring back to the committee and have that conversation and see what the staff says. Okay.
Do you want to just go up there, Councillor McCabe? Do you want to stand up?
It's more, I needed to declare a conflict in this. I missed it. I'm sorry. I was distracted there for a moment for the resolution in this committee for the planters. So I just wanted to.
So when that vote comes up, that's the second one?
Yeah, I just wanted to make it.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Clarification, noted.
Good job.
First motion on the floor? First motion?
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that Council approves sole sourcing 7 new fare boxes from Garavel, the only Canadian distributor of GenFare fare boxes, at a cost of $179,344.82 plus tax, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, now I'm just trying to get.
Question called.
Questions called? Questions called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 10-0. Second resolution, do you want to head out, Councillor McCabe?
Okay.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that Council approve Earthform's bid of $39,330 for the installation of a raised concrete tree planter in an urban downtown site, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, do you want to, Councillor Duran or Councillor Bernard, who wants to go first? Councillor Duran, go ahead.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Bernard. You know, this came to the committee and we discussed it. It's a lot of money. We're looking at $40,000 for a concrete tree planter. You know, I drive around the city and I see a lot of trees. You know, you go around Victoria Park. I know this specific spot is downtown further, but $40,000 for a tree planter. You know, I have concerns about that. It's a lot of money for a tree, so I won't be able to support that. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And that was discussed. It is expensive, no question. But the history also shows we lost an awful lot of trees in downtown Charlottetown through Fiona. And this is apparently a new technology. Like I said, I agree that it's expensive, but I do think that it's worthwhile to try one and to see how this works out. If you look at the engineer designing, it does look like a tree could grow there for quite a few years, be quite sustainable, and withstand a lot of adverse effects in weather conditions. So I think at the end of the day, we thought it'd be good to try one. And then from this one, we can decide if we want to do any more or not in the future. But I think this one and the location where it's going are good choices. So thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor McLear?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. Just to Councillor Bernard, reading the report, certainly I get the Fiona piece, and we've got to, I guess, continue to replant and make steps in the right directions. But don't disagree with Councillor Durang in terms of the cost piece. I know I'm certainly in favor of the thing, but I'm just wondering if we wait and go another time. There was only one bid on the thing, and experience looking at tenders and prices, there can be quite a variance. And I'm just wondering, perhaps maybe another time, springtime, another time where we go back and there may be more than one bidder and maybe better pricing. So in the short term, I won't be supporting the resolution.
Councillor Bernard?
Thank you. I'm just going to ask our manager to comment on that because obviously we weren't part of the tendering process. So do you want to make some comments on that, Jessica, on the tendering?
Jessica?
Would it make a difference?
Yep.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Brown. So it went out for public tender, and a lot of other companies were made aware of the bid. We did only get the one bid. I can't say if it went out again, if we'd get any more. It's hard to say. I guess my comment would be that there's been many years of trying to get trees established in the downtown unsuccessfully, and if you add up the cost of doing that over and over again, it gets pretty expensive, and then you end up with no tree cover. And the city of Charlottetown is trending downwards in tree canopy to a rate that we should be concerned about. Fredericton's canopy is around 40%. Toronto's over 20%. We're at around 17%. And we need to find a way to get trees in the downtown. They get hit with plows, hit with cars, and damaged. So if we don't try something, it costs money. Cities are investing big money in planting trees in their cities. So this is a bit of armor and protection to make sure we have long-lived trees that provide canopy rather than planting them and losing them and planting them and losing them. So I guess that's my comment. Thanks.
Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the chair, if you could just possibly give an explanation, is this like one concrete block that would essentially just hold one tree in a particular area? So if this was a pilot that was successful in the future, we could potentially looking at every tree costing $40,000, and then what would that be in relation to planting one in a traditional way? I'm just trying to see the value here, and I'm envisioning just this concrete block with one tree in it for $40,000, a pot, concrete pot for $40,000. Can I get an explanation, please?
Yeah, thank you, Justin, or Councillor. Did you get a look at the design and the pictures that are in the...
Again, I'm just trying to visualize it if it's just a block. I've seen
my understanding is that it is for one tree. Put a couple of them in it, and they grow, yeah, so my understanding is it's for one tree. And then there will be shrubs and so on, and a bench and so on that's around this. Very attractive looking. But it will be one tree, and that's why I think that you go ahead and do this one, and where it's located is a good location, and then council can decide if they want to do any more or not. But there'd be a bit of a, this is a pilot, really, is what it ends up being. See how it works out, so. Thank you. Okay.
Deputy Mayor? Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Chair, 3 or 4 years back, there was another pilot down in front of the Guild, they tried to plant a tree. And that was not done this style. And I'm just wondering, was there any consideration of that same style? Or maybe that was a bust, maybe that wasn't successful? Or I'm just wondering if you had any information.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what the manager just said, was there's a number of different things that we tried in the past. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the soil, you don't have the depth, and you have plows and so on that are able to hit it, any tree, once you tear the bark off the bottom of the tree's going to die. So I think this protects the tree. It gives it lots of depth, lots of soil, and everything the tree needs to be healthy. So that's why I say it's a pilot. It's a brand new project, and this has been proven in other areas. So.
I think there's another example down at the corner of Prince and Fitzroy on the northwest corner in front of the First Baptist Church. They did no, it's got a concrete curb around it. I saw the construction of it, similar to what was accomplished through the Guild tree, where they put the soil and the water connected. Councilman Tarrant.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess to the chair, I don't think you addressed the question I had just in regard to the difference in, like I say, if this was 40,000 per tree versus planting in the traditional way and taking that risk away, whether they get damaged or not. So is there a cost savings this way, or is this obviously more costly but more effective, I guess is my question. I didn't think I got that addressed. Thank you.
Councilman Tarrant.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the whole reason of doing the project, is to try and have the tree survive. We're losing our canopy, as the manager has stated, because of a lot of the damage, whether it's plows hitting it or whether the tree can only grow so much because there's no soil, no water getting into it. So this particular plan addresses all that. So that's why if you look at the design, you'll see the height of it. You'll see as it runs down towards the road. You'll see where the different layers of soil and water retention and room for the tree to expand and grow to be quite healthy for quite a few years. Are we going to be doing more in the future? That'll be up to council. But like I said, this is a pilot to see how this works out. It should work. I believe, Jessica, this has been tried in other areas, if I'm not mistaken.
Jessica?
Thank you, Councillor Bernard, through Mayor Brown. So definitely it's more expensive to do this than sticking a shovel in the ground and planting a tree. The challenge with the downtown is there's very limited places we can actually do that. So we have to spend more money, like we did at the Guild, like we did at Prince and Fitzroy, and like we're trying here, to try out things that cost more money, but you actually can put a tree in the ground and it will last a long time. So it's very standard across urban centers to spend money on your downtown trees, because you can't just dig a hole and put a tree in the ground. So you have to invest money to make sure that you get them. And, it's not a complicated design. It's just a concrete frame, but it's designed to be aesthetically pleasing and incorporate a bench and some landscaping and a tree. So through our work with Sable Arc, we came up with a kind of a one-of-a-kind design to try out, and we try it. And if we can find ways to make it cheaper for next time through this pilot, then we'll do that. But it's going to be try it and see how it goes and see how we can make amendments. Obviously, we want to make it as affordable as possible. So,
Councilor Duran.
And the other thing I just will add to that, Your Worship, is and Jessica alluded to it, where we're planting trees all the time, and a lot of them are dying. And so when you continue to repeat it or you plant the tree, it gets expensive. So when you're looking at one tree, you're saying, that's not very expensive. But when you're doing about 20 of them in the same location over time, it starts to add up. I think that's why we're looking for a plan that we can start growing some trees that will last and have longevity.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Thank you for your explanation, Jessica. I was just wondering, it never came up at the committee level. Has there been any funding looked into, like the Green Canada Fund or anything like that? You know, the trees, we're getting always trees donated by certain businesses and things like that. I'm just wondering if the timing, have we exhausted all funding avenues in regards to this? Thank you.
Chair, is it all right that, Jessica? Jessica, go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Durant, and through Mayor Brown. So for this particular project, we don't have funding, something we could consider. For the project that was mentioned at the Guild in Prince and Fitzroy, we got all that product donated. So it was our material and labor costs to do those two projects. But this would be city budget with some support from Public Works.
And Councillor Drawn, we did try the grate system down in Queen Street when CADC did the Queen Street project. They used the grates around the trees, but we soon discovered that heavy equipment was breaking the grates, and then the trees died. So there's a lot of ideas that were tried in this. Okay. Question called? Question called. All those in favor, please put up your hand. Okay. Those against? Okay. 7-2. Motion carries. Any other issues? That's good? That's good. Okay. Do you have another resolution? Yeah. Can you just give a knock on the door there? Councillor McCabe? Okay.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that Council receive the 10-year public transit plan and accept the vision of the plan with implementation pending, future funding streams, and city budget approvals. And that Council requests staff to provide an annual progress report on the implementation of this plan. And that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Bernard, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the consultant's report on the 10-year transit plan. So we're looking to receive the report, and but the vision of the report is we're still looking to increase the transit ridership, increase the times, and so on over a 10-year period, and with funding streams and city budget approvals. So tonight we're asking council to receive the report, and then we'll move on from there. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Norman Beck, Ward 3. Councillor Beck.
I'm just kind of, I'm finding the wording a little, of this motion, a little, I don't know whether it's contradictory or what, but it says that we're being asked to receive the report. In the notes, it was talking about that staff recommendation was that we endorse the 10-year plan and that we accept the vision pending future funding streams and that we get an annual progress report. But the first part says we just received the report, so we're getting it.
Yep.
And to me, that means that we're not really doing anything with it, so, other than just receiving it for information. But then when you read on the second part of it, it sounds like, okay, well, we'll go ahead with it, we're gonna seek funding, we're gonna seek all this. You know, recently, we just had a presentation here a while ago from T3 Transit, who is our transit partner, and it kind of evoked, I think, some different more questions for me, I guess, in terms of where we are. What will that look like? And I know that we received the report before, so I'm kind of a little, I wouldn't say maybe perplexed, I guess, that I think what we're asking, I'm not quite sure exactly what we're being asked here. It says hearing, receiving, in the notes is talking endorsement. We're talking about going ahead, seek the funding streams, and then get feedback on how we're doing with all that. So it just seems a little bit contradictory to me. Maybe you can clarify that a bit for me, or maybe I'm misinterpreting
No, that's fine.
something.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
That's what
Yep, we'll clarify that. So it's a 10-year plan. If you want to accept it, you're tied into the 10-year plan, whether you want to make changes or not. You receive it, we receive the report as information. We work with TC3 and our staff to make the changes that we want to make. So the vision is to continue to grow the transit. The vision is to increase the transit stops, increase the routes over that period of time. We can work together with TC Transit and the City of Charlottetown making those improvements.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Did you call the question there, Councillor Ramsey? Yeah, okay, Councillor Ramsey calls the question. Councillor from Ward 5. All those in favor? 10-0. Okay. And that is it.
Thank you, Worship. That is it for environment, sustainability, and transit, yes.
If you have to leave, you can leave, or you can stay with the planning part. Thank you.
I have to go within 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay, we're going now to planning, and I'm going to let the Deputy Mayor, Lana Yankoff, to give her a report. Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the Planning and Heritage Committee met on July 2nd. Affordable Housing Committee met on July 16th. The Planning Board met on July 18th and August 6th. The Design Review Board met on August the 8th. And you will also see in your package building construction stats for July 2023 versus July 2024. And this evening, for your consideration, we have 6 resolutions. We have 5 first readings. We don't have any second readings. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you for your report. Wonder if you could take under advisement, as you know, we're embarking upon a very strenuous, comprehensive process with the new official plan, zoning and development bylaw. Whenever a development comes into a neighborhood, regardless of what that development is, if it doesn't comply with the zoning and development bylaw, then letters go out within 100 meters, and the affected neighborhood or the area of influence have an opportunity to comment, or if there's change in the zoning development bylaw, then there's a public meeting, and it's held here. One of the things I've found very challenging in recent years is that the people that live within the affected neighborhood have to compete with people that do not live in the community. They don't pay taxes there. They don't have an investment there. Some of these folks that speak with regards to a development, live outside the city or 10 blocks away. And that's fine. It's nice to gather input. We do live in a free and democratic society, but nonetheless, I truly believe that the people that live in the affected area, by any development, regardless of what it is, their views, their concerns, their questions, and what they're recommending, because it's their neighborhood, they should be given top priority. So if you could please take that under advisement as we go through the process with the new official plan, new zoning and development bylaw, and how that slots into public consultation. And who carries the most weight? Is the affected neighborhood or people that don't live in the community? And it's really troublesome, and it does affect the people that live in the community, where they have to compete. They have to compete with people that don't live in the community. And there's major concerns with that, what's been happening in the last 3 or 4 years. So if you could please take that under advisement. Thank you.
Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor Twill, and I will take that back to our Planning and Heritage Committee while we are embarking on the the new official plan and changes to the zoning and development bylaw, we can certainly look at the process to whether or not this is an option, whether it's the changes legislatively with the Planning Act, or if it's possible, if it's right, if it's wrong, but we can certainly have staff prepare a report and look at our options. So, yep, thank you.
Okay. Do you want to go with resolution number 1?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approve the request for a major variance for the subject property located at 62 Sherwood Road, PID 455642, to increase the maximum allowable building height from 15 meters, 49.2 feet, to approximately 18.17 meters, 59.62 feet, to allow for a 75-unit, 5-story apartment building to be established on the subject property.
Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. 9-0. Councillor Ramsey, did Councillor Bernard leave? Yes, he did. He did, okay. Okay, next one, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council deny the request to allow for a site-specific exemption in the parking zone as it pertains to the unaddressed property identified as PID 358218 that would allow for a community fridge as a permanent accessory use on the subject property, whereas a community fridge is not otherwise permitted.
So let the record note that Councillor McKinnon has left because he's in conflict. Okay. Do you, Deputy, do you want to speak to it? You're on. Okay.
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. And folks, this has obviously been a difficult file for Planning Department, Planning Board, and here we are to debate and deliberate this evening. The planning staff have recommended that we do not support this site-specific exemption. Detailed report and outlined reasons for that are in your package. The Planning Board then moved to support staff's recommendation as well, unanimously. So we're here this evening, and we can only hope that whatever the outcome is that the City of Charlottetown is here to support our vulnerable folks in any way we can moving forward in whatever that capacity might look like for the City of Charlottetown. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Okay. Question? Questions called? Okay, all those in favor, please. Now I have Councillor McKinnon and has left the room. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, those against? So it's 7-1. Councillor Aguilera. Okay, next one, please. Yep, thank you. Okay.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council deny the request for a site-specific exemption in the low-density R2 zone of the Zoning and Development Bylaw as it pertains to 20 Ralden Avenue, PID 396937, to allow for the existing building, 325 square meters on the subject property, to be used as an automotive repair shop, and that the automotive repair shop be added as an additional permitted use to the zoning that applies to the subject property.
Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Again, a very difficult file for our planning staff and planning board. If you see in your package, the staff have recommended that we support this site-specific exemption, whereas the planning board have recommended to not support this. And if you read your package, there's probably as many pros as there are cons, but it's been difficult when we look at legal non-conforming we're actually legalizing something that often doesn't conform to what should be there. It's already existingly legal non-conforming, but we're looking to build on that and adding more legal non-conforming to the existing legal non-conforming and offering up the an automotive shop. But if you look in our zoning and development bylaw, we don't actually have the term automotive shop. We have what's called automotive center, which would include several other aspects of that permitted use, which could be a gas bar, a convenience store. So it's, you know, again, it's going to be a decision for council to deliberate and debate on, you know, what you might want to do. I just wanted to let everyone know the path to which we got here this evening. So again, the staff is recommending we support the site-specific or the extension of the legal non-conforming. The planning board is recommending that we don't.
Councillor Twill.
Yes, I agree. You know, it's a very difficult file. Credit to the staff for making that recommendation. I think we have to keep in mind that if council does not support staff's recommendation, if we're challenged at IRAC, I can tell you that, I'm no expert, but I can tell you that, you know, IRAC's going to look at the recommendation from staff. They're going to look at, you know, the principles and the planning principles and values and procedures and process and how they arrived at that decision. So that's something we need to keep in mind when we're arriving at that. I had an opportunity to go out and comb the neighborhood. I did receive a phone call from the gentleman wished to operate his business there. He, very sincere man. You know, he's trying to make a living, and he's trying to respect the neighborhood. He certainly made a commitment to me on the phone that he would do everything in his power to work with the affected neighborhood. I don't know if staff had an opportunity or the planning board had an opportunity, Chair, to look at a potential developers agreement, so that in a developers agreement it clearly illustrates what would be permissible and what he needs to do to comply to ensure that there's no violations or breach of the potential developers agreement. I'll ask that question first, please. Thank you.
Councillor Twill, could I just intercede for 1 minute? Can I get our legal counsel just to raise on a point? It's not about you, it's about on the issue itself. Can you, Melanie? No, Melanie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a reminder to councillors that if a vote is going to take place contrary to staff's recommendation, it's best that councillors stand up and speak to the reasons why the vote is going against staff's recommendation.
Just take that into consideration, please. Councillor McKay.
Thank you. And, you know, I don't disagree with what Councillor Tweel's saying. I believe that the applicant's commitment is there to work with the community and do his part. For me still, and you know, I've asked for sort of seeing what that commitment would be. I've asked that through planning board a couple times, and I haven't yet to see that. I also have residents in that area who've been waiting for the legal non-conforming use to eventually return to what its original intention is an R2 or an R1 lot. And so for me, when I look at the proposed use as potential to create noise vibration impact due to operations unless appropriate mitigation measurements are invoked, I haven't seen those measurements. I haven't been able to understand what those measurements are. So I'm not going to support staff's recommendation to allow for the legal non-conforming use in this case.
Councillor Strawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I'm very familiar with the area here, and I think the new owner has cleaned it up a lot, made some improvements. There was just some confusion on the resolution here. I mean, I certainly support staff's recommendation here, but it says, you know, to deny the request, and then the last part, that an automotive repair shop be added as an additional permitted use to the zoning that applies to the property. So what is the clarification there, or the confusion? It seems that, you know, you're asked to deny the request, but yet to put the automotive repair shop as a permitted use. So, you know, I think, you know, this business, the former business has operated for 15 years and very little complaints. So that's why I'm disappointed that the gentleman wants to go in, do some work inside the building, which would certainly reduce any noise or confusion in the area. He's, you know, I believe he's not going to have a dozen cars in the parking lot. He's just going to do it as one man can do it, a couple of cars a day. So, you know, I certainly, I guess, not support this, but I do support the second part of it. So it's just a little bit of confusion there. So could someone kind of decipher what's going on there?
Good question, Councillor Duran. Can you clarify that, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Duran. So if you read the resolution, what it is saying is that council deny the request for site-specific exemption in the low-density residential zone of the zoning and development bylaw, and it proceeds to go through the entire thing. But it says right at the beginning, what is asking is for council to deny the request, because this resolution is based on planning board's recommendation to not support staff's recommendation. So this resolution is reflective of planning board, not of planning staff. But if you go into your minutes, you will see there where the planning staff have the opposite of what this resolution reads. So the resolution you're hearing is from planning board. And I guess it's a little bit of a who's on first kind of thing, but that's what that means, if anyone is unclear of that. And David, if you want to add to it, because I know you and I just had that discussion yesterday about that exact thing.
Councillor Duran, are you clear with that? That's why I asked. So is it all right, we asked David?
Through the chair, your worship, to address the deputy mayor's question. And to address what Councillor Duran has raised, the resolution on the floor is to deny the request in its entirety. So that's to deny permission for the use, and then it'd be added as a permitted use within the existing R2 zoning, which is contrary to what staff recommended. Staff recommended that the request be approved, that the legal nonconforming be extended to also include an automotive repair shop on the subject property. The resolution before you, as the deputy mentioned, is what planning board recommended, which was contrary to professional staff's recommendation. So.
Councillor Duran, good? Okay.
And I'm sorry, I just don't understand.
No, go ahead.
So if I vote to deny this, does the gentleman allowed to, the repair shop, does it get an additional permitted use? Or if we vote to deny this, that cancels his application? Is that correct? Okay, sorry.
Deputy Mayor?
So the reading of the resolution is that it's saying that if you vote in favor of this resolution, then you have denied the ability for the extended use for legal nonconforming. So you're saying no. So because you're supporting the planning board's recommendation and not the staff's. If you say, if you do not support this resolution, then you are supporting staff's resolution or recommendation, and the extension of the legal nonconforming would proceed. Clear?
Good.
Okay.
Councillor Matard?
Well, exactly. I was all over with Councillor Duran there on this particular one.
You got it?
I think we got it there. So just last thing, one of the comments were brought up was around a developer's agreement. I think that was mentioned in the previous session that we had for the councillor and the board. I think answered that. Has there been any discussion around that, and have we seen anything? And is it too late after this decision's already made, or Can someone, to the chair, can you address that? Like,
Deputy?
as a developer's agreement, can that be something that can still be invoked if this is successful in favor of the applicant moving forward with the automotive?
So there was discussion on the, on a developer's agreement that didn't come to light. And the challenge will be is that there is no such thing in the zoning and development bylaw for an auto repair shop. It's considered automotive center. So you're not going to be able to restrict what automotive center says, what that is permitted to do. So I'm assuming that that's why staff have not proceeded with a development agreement, because of the wording in the zoning and development bylaw. David, if you wanted to add anything to that, over to you.
Mr. Gunberg.
Through the chair, Your Worship, to address the question, so the alternative to this would be to approve the request for the site-specific exemption to add an automotive repair shop as a permitted use, and I believe that that alternate resolution has wording in it that would compel the owners to enter into a development agreement to address any potential nuisances that may affect adjacent properties. So that, anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the development agreement would function to implement any conditions that would be applied to the use that are specific to that use to help mitigate for any impacts that that use may cause to abutting or nearby residential properties.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, if memory serves me correctly, when this came up before us before, one of the things that was reason for sending it back was to outline those mitigating factors that could be addressed to reduce the concerns that were expressed by the residents. And when we had our planning board meeting recently, there was nothing in there. So there was no outlining. So basically, we're back at what we were at when we voted to send it back to planning board in the first place. So we're no further ahead. And when we had that original vote, I didn't even want to send it back then. I wanted to, I opposed it at that time, and I'll be opposing it again tonight. For the very reason that I look at the use legal non-conforming. That business has been established there in an area that does not conform to the environments around it. It's legally there, can operate, and continue to cooperate as long as it continues to use the usage, and I'm fine with that. But I think we have to be very careful when we're looking, kind of what Councillor McCabe had alluded to, that we're looking at taking R2, R1, whatever the zoning would be in that area out of use by adding more things on. And I think we have to be careful about that when we're looking at limited options that we have within the city in terms of adding on to further reduce the opportunity for that to potentially become something down the road. If it stays as a, what is it, heating and plumbing, heating and ventilation, fine, continue on with the legal non-conforming use. I think we have to be very careful, not only in this instance, but any instances that come forward with it in the future, to be looking at adding additional legal non-conforming uses. So I will be opposing, or I will be supporting the motion to deny it for those reasons, because I don't want to keep adding on additional legal non-conforming usage, and I don't think that's the way that we should be proceeding. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
I'm going to reiterate what I stated earlier. If the applicant decides to appeal this to IRAC, chances are IRAC, although I'm not a lawyer, chances are IRAC is going to look at the planning principles, values, procedures, and how staff had arrived at making the recommendation to the planning board. That's what they're going to look at, folks. They're going to look at that, the rationale, the logic behind staff's recommendation. So it's putting the city behind the 8 ball. And I think we've got to tread very, very carefully, because Lots of times they're going to Iraq and they're sending it right back, saying council erred. Regardless of what your perspective was, you didn't follow the advice of the professional staff, as David pointed out. So, you can't really make an amendment to the resolution if you want to endorse it in terms of supporting it, i.e. a developer's agreement, or even a pilot project. You'd have to vote down the resolution and then come in with a new resolution. So, when I got the phone call from the gentleman, I mean, gee, he couldn't have been any more sincere. I believe, I really do. I believe the man. He said, look, we're gonna respect the neighborhood. We're gonna keep things tidy. I mean, I went by there, it's very tidy now. And I think he wants to be there for the long term. So the last thing he wants to do is be off sides with the residents. And I don't believe for a minute that he will. I mean, he's an honorable man, and I think we should give him a shot.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Yep, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Tweel, for your observation and your discussion around the whether this goes to IRAC or not. I'm not familiar with the exact process to which IRAC deliberates and makes decisions, but I do know that the planning board is a legislative board that is also factored in when things go to IRAC, besides the staff's recommendation. This is an interesting file. We have staff supporting it. We have planning board unanimously not supporting it. We have councillors arguing the legal non-conforming aspect of the city and how we move forward with that. There's been many times we've debated staff's recommendations, and sometimes they go to IRAC, sometimes they don't. And we have our legal counsel reminding us that we do need to speak of our reasons, but are we speaking of our reasons tonight on supporting planning board or planning staff? So if we're here to speak on our planning staff's recommendation and why we're not supporting that is one thing, or are we speaking that we're supporting planning boards? So there's two things going on here. It's a difficult one. I will be supporting planning board's recommendation to not grow on our legal non-conforming use. The reasons have been outlined, and for the record, I will basically reiterate what Councillor Back has said and Councillor McCabe, and that there were as many shortcomings as there were positives for this situation. I hear the neighbors. I empathize with the business owner, but I also see that continuing to expand on our legal conforming uses, especially when we're embarking on an official plan and changes to our zoning and development bylaw, seems to be counterintuitive at this time. So I will be supporting planning board's recommendation to not support this legal non-conforming extension.
Councilor McAleer?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. And to, I guess, to the Chair Lana, I will be supporting the resolution that's on the floor. I just don't live in the neighborhood, but have been by the property a couple of times, most recent on the weekend. And I guess the lens that I'm looking at this through primarily is a resident. If I lived on Dart Street or in close proximity to 20 Walden Avenue, I would be lobbying my councillor to be supporting anything that councillor could do to potentially get this property back to something that would be close to residential uses, be that R1, R2, or maybe there's other development opportunities for this property going forward that's maybe in the residential space. But anyway, that's just. For the past use, I understand it to be, from the information I read, that it's been predominantly a pretty quiet use, pretty quiet in terms of traffic and what have you. I guess probably more of a warehouse sort of thing for the plumbing and heating operation, but to migrate to, to something automotive, if you're fixing automobiles, you got to have, you got to have your hope and you're going to be successful, so you're going to have cars in your parking lot. And anyway, I know if I was just kind of when I drove in and drove down that street, across the street, there's a boating thing going on, and it just didn't. I said, as a resident, I'd be supporting the resolution. Thank you.
Councillor Beck.
I just want to comment on what Councillor Tweel was saying about Iraq and this whole piece. I think it's really a question of oversight. And the professional staff gave their professional opinion. The first level of oversight is planning board. Planning board disagreed with the professional staff's recommendation. They gave their honest professional opinion as to what they feel is the right thing to do. Planning board has given its opinion as to what is the right thing to do. We are going to now say, is planning board right or is planning board wrong? But I think what we have to do is we have to focus on what we think is the right thing to do or the best course of action to take. They gave theirs, planning board gave theirs, we give ours. If IRAC decides that we erred, that's what they're there for. They're to give oversight on various levels of government and decisions are made. So I don't think we should be necessarily worried about whether IRAC is going to approve or deny our decision. I think what we do as one of the levels of oversight is we give our best opinion and we look at all the information that we have and make a decision accordingly.
I think the case in point is Much Drive. Planning board made a recommendation to council to deny the Much Drive narrow lots, but if I remember correctly, planning staff agreed to it. That was a recommendation. So I think the point Councillor Tweel's making, because of his years of experience, that staff made it, the board recommended no, and council voted with the board, but they went to IRAC. Let me just finish. They went to IRAC. The developer took it to IRAC, and we ended up, I think, paying both our lawyer fee, legal fees and their legal fees. Can I get Councillor Matard first and then come back?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the chair. As I sit here and contemplate and debate my decision here this evening, I've heard lots of great arguments, and I'd have to go back to thinking about the work that the planning department did and their recommendation in supporting their work and their findings, and but what confuses me a little bit is that if this is denied tonight, there's only seems to be two options. The property owner goes back to allowing it to be what it currently is, so some heating and plumbing organization of some sort that fits into there, or the developer decides to tear things down and get back into the business of housing, I guess would be the other alternative. But no guarantees here. We're talking a lot about what the automotive shop may or may not do, but no guarantees that if a new company was in there from a heating perspective, that they could come in and have all the very same concerns, but we wouldn't need to be here to debate that, because that would just be as of right, and they would just move in and they could start, creating and creating ductwork and stuff like that with heavy machinery and things that would actually do that. So I guess I'm just, it seems like unless this is going back to residential, there's no win situation here for both the residents in that particular area, because it's going to be one thing or another, or going back to possibly residential. If it ever was residential, it's been what it has been for a long time. So I'll be supporting the planning department's recommendation and not the planning board's. I think if I got that correctly. Okay, thank you.
Okay, questions called. Now, again, to clarify it, if you vote to deny the request, that's a yay. If you're voting against it, that allows the zoning, the rezoning, or the site-specific zoning to go ahead, correct? Yeah. Correct, okay. All those for the denial, please raise your hands. I have Deputy Mayor Yankoff, Councillor Beck, Councillor Ramsey, Councillor McAleer, and Councillor McCabe. Those against the okay, Councillor Matart, Twill, McKinnon, and Duran. So resolution has lost 5-4. So that means the denial goes ahead, correct? That's right. It carries. Okay, do you want to read the next one?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approve the request to proceed to public consultation concerning an application that proposes to rezone the subject property located at 7 McKinnon Road, PID 374215, from low-density residential R2 zone to medium-density residential R3 zone in order to allow for the establishment of a 7-unit apartment building on the subject property, with the caveat that the staff call for the public meeting following confirmation of resolution of comments and concerns provided by Public Works.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. Okay? Yes, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approve the request to proceed to public consultation concerning an application that proposes to rezone the subject property located at 33 Morrow Drive, PID 3669797, from low-density residential R2 zone to medium-density residential townhouse R-3T zone in order to allow for the construction of stacked townhouse unit development, proposing to have a total of 5 dwelling units.
This is to go to public consultation. Question? Okay. All those in favor? 9-0. Next one, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approve the request for a site-specific exemption in the downtown core DC zone of the Zoning and Development Bylaw as it pertains to 149 and 151 Great George Street, PIDs 342386 and 342402, to allow for an 8-story, 85-unit apartment building on the subject property with ground floor commercial space that is subject to bonus height provisions of the Zoning and Development Bylaw. The development is to contain a proportion of affordable housing units, the number of which will be confirmed through a future development agreement. All required parking for the development is to be located off-site and secured through private legal agreements and/or cash in lieu of parking provisions of the Zoning and Development Bylaw. And that Council approve the proposed building facade plans as put forth by the applicants and presented to the Design Review Board at their meeting on July 15th, 2024, and that Council not adopt the recommendations of the third-party design reviewer, the request for the site-specific exemption to Section 32.3 bonus height development standards would therefore amend Appendix C, approve site-specific exemptions of the Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, as well as amend Appendix I, bylaw revision history. The effect of the site-specific exemptions to the Zoning and Development Bylaw would be as follows. Exemption from Section 32.3.1B2 to allow for a minimum of lot frontage of 26 meters and to allow for a minimum lot depth of 30 meters for a building taller than 21.3 meters, whereas a minimum lot frontage of 41 meters and a minimum lot depth of 36 meters are otherwise required. 2, exemption from Section 32.3.3A1 to not step back the building a minimum of 6 meters above that portion of the building that is taller than 21.3 meters on the front facade. And 3, exemption from 32.3.3.B2 to not require a minimum 10-meter interior yard setback for that portion of the building above 21.3 meters.
Councillor Twill?
Thank you. When you look at our downtown, it faces many challenges in terms of development. We look out further University Avenue and development's taking place all over the place. And yet we have a major landowner, downtown Charlottetown, that is illustrating confidence. Confidence in that they truly believe in redevelopment and revitalization of our downtown. This is a tremendous shot in the arm for downtown Charlottetown. We're lucky. We're really lucky that these folks are making this kind of an investment. Decisions of this magnitude aren't made lightly. Costs a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. And to make a significant investment downtown Charlottetown, we should applaud these people and these developers. So I want to wish them all the success, and I think it's a major coup d'etat for downtown Charlottetown. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you, General Twill. Question? The question's called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. Okay, now I think we have readings to establish new bylaws. First reading? Okay.
City of Charlottetown Enforcement Amendment Bylaw, Bylaw 2024-EA-01, to establish the City of Charlottetown Enforcement Amendment Bylaw, which will allow amendment to certain City of Charlottetown bylaws to include reference to the city's enforcement and summary proceedings bylaw 2024-ESP-01. Be it resolved that the bylaw to establish City of Charlottetown Enforcement Amendment Bylaw 2024-EA-01 be read a first time. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. On August 13th.
On 2024. Shall I carry?
Be it resolved that the bylaw now be approved as city bylaw and that it be entitled the City of Charlottetown Enforcement Amendment Bylaw 2024-EA-01 and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
Shall I carry? Okay. 9-0. Go ahead.
To establish the Charlottetown Enforcement and Summary Proceedings Bylaw 2024-ESP-01 to authorize the establishment of enforcement officers and issuance of municipal offense tickets for contraventions. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown Enforcement and Summary Proceedings Bylaw 2024-ESP-01 be read a first time. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
Shall it pass? There are questions, yeah. So this is still in the first reading. Councillor Beck?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Maybe through to the chair, just, we had Schedule B here, which kind of outlines various offenses, and amounts and that sort of thing. Is it my understanding that this is not a comprehensive list, that this is just a template or a sample of what it may look like, and that this could be changed? I've heard that, and I'm just looking for clarification as to whether that is the case or not, or whether this is the finished product, or does it come back with, or are there, will there be changes made to Schedule B?
Deputy Mayor.
Yep, and thank you for that, Councillor Beck. This is a working and living document, and the Schedule B is more of a template of what the offenses look like. You'll look higher up on the bylaw where it outlines the different bylaws that falls under this, and you'll see where it says the MGA Planning Act. So anything that falls under planning, whether it's the zoning and development bylaw, the short-term rental bylaw, anything at all, will fall under that. They're just not all listed there. And Donna, if you want it, without putting you on the spot, if you want to add anything to that, I think, the quick answer to Councillor Beck is, yes, this is just a template of what would be in there.
And it's a living document. Yeah. Donna?
Thank you, Your Worship. So as the chair stated, Section 5, Part B of the Enforcement and Summary Proceedings Bylaw makes mention to Section 227 of the Municipal Government Act, and in that it's stated under what bylaw and in relation to what summons or tickets can be laid, and it outlines at a higher level what can be enforced and what can be charged. So it is not a finite list, and as we go along and based on the contravention that will be listed in the tickets as it's laid, then the fines will be allotted.
Councillor McKinnon?
Thank you, Your Worship. Two questions. One, I know from past experience, will the revenue from the tickets come to the municipality of Charlottetown? 'Cause, I didn't see it in there. It does happen in other municipalities. And another clerical, I'm not sure if it's on page 279, section 3.11, subsection A. Are we missing the word without a permit?
What page was that? 279?
279, digital.
So
Section 3.11, subsection A, says moving a building with a permit is a fine. Should that say without?
Well, we're glad, lucky to have Melanie here because she did a lot of work on it. So I'm just going to go through to you first. Deputy, just go ahead.
I'm pretty sure we discussed that and we identified that, and I think it's just another clerical error that was just missed. Melanie, if you want to correct me if that was the case.
Go ahead.
That does look to be the case, Councillor Yankov, so we can make that correction.
And the answer
Thank
to
you.
his first
Right,
question?
and the first question is, yes, any of the summary offense tickets that the city collects is city revenue. Whereas if the city police are giving tickets, say, for helmet usage, that, I believe, goes to the province because that's a provincial law. But anything you see in our summary offense will be revenue for the city of Charlottetown.
Good. Councillor Twill, no questions about this because I know you're quite concerned about bringing it forth.
I think the document is a moving target. I think it's a good start. As we move along, we'll probably be making additions and deletions over the next, months ahead or years ahead. So I think it's an excellent start. And as we go through it, we're going to find out, what works, what doesn't. And then we'll be prepared to make those amendments with any bylaw for that matter. But this is a great start.
So, Deputy, could I just ask, so those on-sitely dangerous issues, will they be a matter taken up by this ticketing system, or do they have to come back here? That's one example. So, we go through it every month.
I'll take a stab at your worship. And the whole purpose of this is to streamline the process, and I believe that these will go through the bylaw enforcement. Donna, is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, to your worship. So the issue here is that the unsightly bylaw will have to be amended as was discussed at the committee level to ensure that the issue of having all the offenses brought to council for a resolution is resolved.
Great. So we're going to do that as soon as possible, correct?
That will be done as soon as possible.
And just one other question. So if we add something, let's say, for example, cars parking in bicycle lanes, if that has to be added, does it have to come back here to be amended? Deputy Mayor?
I'll
Donna?
defer that to Donna.
So if we need to amend any section of this bylaw, we go through the committee and then we come back to council for final decision.
So there's a number, I'm sure there's some that yeah, there's work, it's a moving target, as Councillor Twill said, a living document. Perfect. Question? No, I think we just have to say, do the second reading. Or continue on. Go ahead. Sorry there. Yep. Yep, shall it pass? Okay. So you need a second part.
Be it resolved that the bylaw now be approved as a city bylaw and that it be entitled City of Charlottetown Enforcement and Summary Proceedings Bylaw 2024-ESP-01 and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
Shall it pass? Okay, good. 9-0. And you know what? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know this has been an ongoing issue. I started on this issue back in 2019, and here we are, 2024. But it's a start, and now let's keep moving it forward. Thank you, Donna, staff. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and the Planning Committee, and everybody here in council. Okay, we have some site-specific readings to amend the zoning development bylaw, 94 Watts Avenue, I think.
Zoning and Development Bylaw PH-ZD.2 to adopt the bylaw PH-ZD.2-084, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw to allow a site-specific exemption on the subject property located at 94 Watts Avenue, PID 757484, to allow for the existing building on the subject property to be used as a commercial daycare center, and that a commercial daycare center be added as an additional permitted use for the zoning that applies to the subject property. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw PH-ZD.2-084 as it pertains to 94 Watts Avenue, PID 757484 as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Shall I carry? Pass. Okay. Next one, please.
To adopt bylaw PH-ZD.2-085, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to allow a site-specific exemption on the subject property located at 145 Richmond Street, PID 340422, to allow for, first, signs that project a business name, image, or advertisement onto a building or any other surface from a source external to the sign. And second, to allow animated and video signs. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PH-ZD.2-085, as it pertains to 145 Richmond Street, PID 340422, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Shall I carry? Do you answer? Yep, go ahead.
To adopt bylaw PH-ZD.2-086, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to allow a site-specific exemption on the subject properties located at 149, 151 Great George Street, PIDs 342386 and 342402, to allow for an 8-story, 85-unit apartment building with a ground floor commercial space that would be subject to the bonus height provisions of the zoning and development bylaw, and that would include affordable housing units with all parking for overall development located off-site through private legal agreement. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PH-ZD.2-086, as it pertains to 149, 151 Great George Street, PIDs 342386 and 342402, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Shall I carry? Okay. That's it? It is, okay. Okay, so following the agenda 6.3, a motion to move into a closed session as per section 119, subsection 1D of the Municipal Government Act of Prince Edward Island, human resource matters including labor relations or employee negotiations, union, labor negotiations. All those in favor? Okay. So we need a motion to move into a closed. Okay. So our next report is water and wastewater, and that's Councillor Robert Duran. Councillor Duran. Sir?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. The Water and Sewer Utility Committee had a regular meeting on August the 1st, 2024. I do have one resolution coming forward tonight, and if anyone has any questions, I'll answer them as best I can, or our manager, Josh, will. So, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Do you want to read that first resolution, Madam Chair? Did you have a question, Councillor McAleer? Oh, okay. Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, thank you for your report, Councillor Drong. Just in the minutes, Councillor Drong, item 4A, the update on the fiber op project, and I was just wanting to understand if it's an easy answer or there's reference. Again, the update on the fiber op report was given, and just it talked about there are approximately 6 locations that have been damaged by third-party contractors. These areas have not been repaired yet. The fiber contractor is working with third-party contractors on the damages. There were some questions when the system would be ready to go on the city side. Was there an update on the IRU? Still wondering. Anyway, just wondering, like, you know, on those 6 locations. I know this fiber op has been going on for a while now, and it's a challenge, I guess, to get it to get it complete and get it to where the contractor's trying to get it in respect of of the IRU. But I just wondered, in terms of these, can you kind of share the sort of challenges or damages that were done, and how big a problem is it going to be to perhaps fix it?
Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. I'll let our manager answer those questions, put him on the spot here, because we never really discussed each specific damage. This was an ongoing thing that the city, the contractor, and the third party were all looking at. So if Josh has any information, he can share it with us, but we don't have any information at this time.
Mr. McGinnis?
Or our committee.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, for these particular locations, it was damage done by outside contractors during excavation, so they would have broken the conduit in which the fiber is installed. So the hiccup there is the contractors are working with the UCC, which is our fiber contractor, to come to an agreement on the cost and who will replace or repair that damage. So that's kind of what they're hashing out, is ultimately, who shares that cost. And then once they can come to that agreement, it'll be fixed. It can be fixed fairly readily. It's just they need to come to an agreement of who damaged it and then who's responsible for that. So there's a disagreement between the third party and UCC. And that's kind of where they're at with those locations.
Follow up there, Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, just curious, from a cost perspective, are these expected to be, costly repairs? Are they significant? Like, is there any? Can you give a sense of that? Thank you.
I don't have the exact cost for each one. They're not substantial in the terms of the full contract, but they are part of UCC's agreement with us, so it's not a utility cost. So they will be rectified before the system's up.
Okay, Councillor Tweel.
Is this any different when a contractor comes into the city of Charlottetown? It could be doing separation, sanitary sewer, stormwater system, any type of construction that takes place in the city, regardless of what that construction is, it's safe to say that there's always going to be deficiencies. You know, that would be the norm. To even suggest that there's not going to be any deficiencies, and those deficiencies have to be corrected and addressed and effectively, you know, put back to the way it was originally. But when it comes to this whole idea of deficiencies, that is a norm. I mean, that usually happens when you have construction of any type, whether it's fiber optics or, you know, the sanitary stormwater separation, or any type of contract of that magnitude. There is going to be deficiencies. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that, through the chair to yourself. And is this any different than when you're dealing with a project of this magnitude?
Mr. Chair, do you want to go through the manager?
Absolutely, no, thank you for the question. And these particular damages are separate from deficiencies, so within the contract, the contractor is responsible for installing it to a standard, and any deficiencies to that standard would be addressed through the contract, whereas this was damage done by a third party unassociated with us. It's addressed through the two individuals involved directly, so that'd be UCC and the third party. So once they do come to an agreement on rectifying that, the UCC will move forward with repairs and go that way. But as far as deficiencies, if there was minor things contractually, then we'd work with the contractor and move forward on that. But whereas this is kind of third party damage, then it's between those two to settle out, and we'll put a fire under UCC to make sure that gets settled sooner rather than later.
Councillor Twill.
Would this be any different? I know it's a much bigger scale, but if you do a comparison and contrast with what's happening down on Water Street, Grafton Street, I mean, they're finding things there that they certainly didn't anticipate, and they're trying to deal with it. I mean, I guess that's one of the reasons why there's a delay and they're struggling to make the deadline. I'm just trying to do a comparison as to, you know, when they're doing, again, that's a major, major project, but when they're digging, I mean, they're going to find things that they didn't expect to find. And could you say the same thing about the installation of the fiber optic as well?
Absolutely. And as similar in that project on Grafton and Riverside, or Grafton and Water Street, I should say, is where they are the contractor down there, and if they find something unplanned and they damage it, it's the similar process where if it's somebody else's infrastructure, they do have to go through and work out who was responsible for that, and if there's any costs, that there is potential that the contractor would be responsible for the damages. So very similar situation where if there's an unknown infrastructure and somebody does damage it, there is liability on certain parties. So it is a very similar process, just I'd almost say inverse, where this was installed and then another party came and had made the damages, whereas on Grafton Street and in Water Street, they're performing installation and there's chances that they could find other infrastructure.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if we discussed this at committee, but with our own projects where we go underground with water, wastewater, how many times do our contractors run into? Do we have any data on how many times a contractor runs into, let's say, a buried maritime electric cable, or maybe a buried telecommunications cable? Because I think before you dig, you have to seek out the information of what's down there, correct? Is that right, Mr. Chair?
We're going to take that back to the committee and discuss it, and we'll get back to you on that.
Great, because I'll bring it up there too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem.
The resolution.
Moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the new storage building at the Charlottetown Pollution Plant and accepts the bid submitted by WM&M 1993 Limited in the amount of $245,000 plus applicable taxes. And further, that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Question? Questions are called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. Is that the report, Mr. Chair? Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Next report is Public Works, Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Public Works Committee met on the 17th of July. You'll see the minutes in your package. The Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities met on the 16th. Those minutes are also included in your package. We don't have any resolutions for consideration tonight, but if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Councillor Strong.
Thank you for your report, Councillor McCabe. I do have one question on the notice of motion. Here we are, I don't know, two months. Actually, you go back 3 months. 3 months I asked a question here to you and the chair of Public Works, and he was just going to look into it and give me a quick assessment, but he wasn't allowed to do that. We had to go with the new rules, the notice of motion. So I had to wait till the next month, and then I put the notice of motion in, and then it went back to your committee, and then, you had a large amount of things to discuss, and you never really got to discuss it, the notice of motion. And then the next month, another notice of motion Councillor Tweel put in to look at the streets. Now I see, a third package that could be coming forward here tonight. But what I'm saying is, this is, in my opinion, and it's a very low opinion, that this notice of motion is just not working. You come here, you could have summed my question up 2 or 3 minutes, the manager could have looked into it, then we would have moved on, gave me an answer, I could give my residents an answer, very little work done. But here I'm waiting 60, 70, 75, 80 days, I'm no further ahead than I asked the question. Now we have a resolution coming out for a third package, and I'm sitting here saying, well, I got no information to tell anybody. So these notice of motions, I guess they're here for the MGA. I guess we're supposed to do it, but it's just, in my opinion, a waste of time. This is the floor that we can ask questions. The manager has the answers on various committees, can give us the answer, or if he doesn't have it, in another day or two, he'd call you back, or she would call you back with somewhat of an answer. But here I am, like I said, 80 days later, no further ahead when I started. So where are we going with the notice of motion? No one has contacted me. No one's got back to me. Alls I asked was for 2 streets to be looked at due to winter damage. And 80 days later, I get nothing. So, where do we go from there? And I know it's not on you, it's on somebody. Somebody's got to give me an answer on something. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Well, I appreciate you recognizing it's not on me, because I don't have any idea how to assess street damage and be able to get a quick answer back, but I am going to let Scott answer that question at this time.
Your Worship, through to the councillor. So we have a committee meeting next Wednesday. It is on the agenda. There's a report that is in draft form, so we're finishing up the next couple of days to prepare for a committee meeting that will outline the review of your notice of motion. So just following policy or practice under the MGA, that is the process we've been informed, is that when a notice of motion comes, we do our review and create a report that comes through the committee and back to council.
Councillor McCabe,
Can I just get a clarification? So, and I appreciate notices of motion, but for the manager to come back to our committee, that would be more, in my thought, an operational part if they're looking at specific streets within our cities. For the committee level, I see us as working on policies, bylaws, approving more money if we want to get another tender package out. Those would be the things that I would see reason for a notice of motion to come through our committee. As far as looking at specific streets, which I think is a reasonable request, to me that would be more operationally based. So whether it's through the manager with the director or our CAO having input to kind of work with that. Could someone clarify if I'm wrong in that?
CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the notice of motion, there's two motions. There's Councillor Tweel's motion and there's Councillor Duran's motion on specific streets that you would think it was operational, but during the budget process, you approved a whole bunch of streets and action to take place on those streets. And now requests are being made for additional streets. So that then becomes a council consideration, or less streets, council consideration, and has budgetary ramifications. So if you're, I realize it's in this package tonight, the extra $1 million. If you want that deferred to make a decision on those two notice of motions first, to be able to alter your list of streets and what that means, then that's definitely a way forward.
Councillor Duran, I think the end goal is coming. We will be approving an additional $1 million. I thought it would be 1.3 million, similar to Package A, Package B, so we could get, 14 kilometers? Anyways, go ahead. Hopefully those streets will be in it. But there's a list of streets that we have to follow. You want to follow up?
Yeah, so my whole idea was just to ask. It's not asking for new streets. It was to ask about if these streets, like the manager has said, they do an assessment, say in the fall, when they have slow time for a couple of weeks or something, they assess the streets. But what I'm saying is, one of these streets was, on a downgrade, it might have got a lot more ice damage, salt damage, whatever, just to assess it to see if it would, if it's number 18 or could it be up to number 12? You know what I mean? That's what it was. It wasn't asking for more money. And I did have my notice of motion in a month before Councillor Tweel's. So you can't deal with both of them. I already had mine in, right? So it was like, just answer the question. Do you have your assessor go out and say, okay, you know what, Bob, you're right or you're wrong. It did take a substantial amount of damage, and we will look at moving that, or no, it didn't. That still says on number 28, and it's going to stay there. So that's the reason. And then the frustration, then it comes in where Councillor Tweel came the next month and said, well, his streets need to be reconsidered. And then here we are 80 days later, and no one has told me anything. What am I supposed to say when the resident says, listen, I asked you a question 2 months ago, and you don't even get back to me. I said, I'll get back to you when I get information, but I don't get any information. And again, here we are, the resolution coming up. I certainly agreed with doing more paving because the streets are a mess, like a lot of them. So they do need that. So it's just frustrating with me with these notice of motions. Maybe I'm just not used to it, but there should be somebody. If you can say, here's my notice of motion, okay, this month, you had 30 days to act on it. By the next council meeting, something should be given to me to say, okay, Bob, you know what? We didn't have time, we're backed up, but we're going to look at it this month. Then I can say to the resident, listen, that's fair. They're running the city. That doesn't all sit around my ward. But to go another month or another 80 days with no information whatsoever, it's just not good communication skills. So that's all I'm asking about this stuff. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McCabe, do you want to follow up with that?
I do. I think, because I agree. I think we always have to do better with communication. And I think it's a quick result if we have the right stuff in place to be able to recognize and justify. And I know that there is, and we've seen at our committee level, the little study with all the streets that was color-coded, what streets were in need of repair, when and where. I've asked for that a few times to be presented to all of council so they could understand. And maybe then something like your specific street, you'll see it's a yellow street, which means, yeah, it's probably going to have to be done in the next couple of years, but it's not an immediate pressing concern right now. That's what I think we all need to see and understand. And then it doesn't become, well, I get calls every day too. There's a pothole, there's a this, there's a that. I'm sure we all hear from this, but they have to have criteria and science and be able to back up why they're suggesting, or I hope they do. If they don't, then that's something that certainly the committee can look at as around developing that stuff.
Councillor Twill.
Well, I filed my notice of motion because the streets that I wanted to have reevaluated are terrible shape. And I've seen other streets get paved, pulverized and paved, that were not as bad a shape as these particular streets. And I'm not sure, I've always questioned the criteria. If it's truly worse first, then the streets that I've submitted would be paved. Make no mistake about it. You don't have to be an engineering consulting and when it comes to asphalt to arrive at that conclusion. Some of the streets, I can certainly reiterate the streets that I filed in that notice of motion. I do agree with Councillor Drawn. It's taken too long. The residents have been patient. These neighborhood streets are not being addressed expeditiously as the way they should be. And, you know, I talked earlier here about separation, stormwater and sanitary sewer, and we're still dealing with the aftermath, and that was a number of years ago. And these streets haven't been paved. So the residents have been more than patient. These neighborhood streets they're a priority, and they have to become a priority. So I don't know. I do question the methodology, and I did ask for an independent assessment. I did so in my notice of motion. So I'll be looking forward to when the committee meets to see where we go. Because you just can't keep putting off these neighborhood streets. They're not getting attended to the way they should be. It's been a long time. One of the questions I had was, in the minutes, it talks about the fleet of police vehicles that we bought, and I had a resident who was watching the proceedings ask me, who does the maintenance of these vehicles? Do we tender out the vehicles, Chair? Pass it to you, to Mr. Adams. Does it come back to the dealership? Do they do the maintenance on these police vehicles, and does it go to tender when it comes to?
Councillor Twill, could I ask, whereabouts is that in the minutes?
What?
You said that's in the
We're
minutes.
talking about the purchase of the vehicles.
Yeah, but is it?
No, so it's related to the purchase of the vehicles.
No, we just dealt with the purchase of the vehicle.
Yeah, I know, but I'm asking, it's relevant to the purchase of the vehicles in terms of, you know, the maintenance. So when these vehicles require maintenance, does it go to tender? Or does it go back to the, what?
Well, if I buy a Dodge, I'd take it back to a Dodge dealer. I wouldn't take it to a Ford.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Does
Yeah.
it go back to, we purchased 8 vehicles. Now, do they go back to Reliable Motors?
Yeah, if they're Dodges, yeah.
Do they?
They wouldn't go to Fairlight Ford.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'll tell the resident, that the maintenance
Yeah.
and everything, whether it be oil change of tires, whatever the case may be, goes back to Reliable Motors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good, thank you.
Okay, just one second. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I'm seeing a contradictory shake to the answer Councillor Twill was given. I'm going to backtrack before I go to the vehicles, that I don't know why we're talking about vehicles when we're talking about street paving. But I think what I have to do is be committed to looking, Scott, if we could look at the criteria assessment and process that's used again. Maybe that's something we could start with at the committee. And as far as more streets being paved, Councillor Twill, I think we just have to invest more money. If we want more streets paved, we have to commit to more money in our budget, and we have to make that a priority. So we are coming to look for another $1 million. We've been behind for years trying to maintain the streets in the city, and what we've tried to do in the last couple of years is get ahead of that a little bit so that we're not constantly chasing, but it's a lot of money.
Yep.
So in order for us to do that, we have to make that a priority.
Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Worship. To the chair. So I understand, if I understand correctly, you know, through Councillor Drawn and Councillor Twill, bringing their notice of motion forward was to simply get something addressed or actioned, I think. And it sounded like an assessment more than anything. So what concerns me about that is each one of us could come up with a number of streets. So I'm going to put a notice of motion right now, is I want a street looked at. And Councillor here is going to do the same thing. So I feel like back in your operational comment is where that should be. Again, like from the, you know, I guess obviously from, you know, changing the budget and stuff like that. But to me, it seems like if I put an operational request in to have a particular street assessed, and I'm given a direction that could take 3 to 4 weeks to do an assessment of it, I would get that information. I'm not requesting that it be done. Obviously, I would like to be done, but then there would be rationale come back as to why it can and can't be done, and where it's at in the list and so on and so forth. I feel like this notice of motion thing is going to be a lot of work for all of us. If that's what we need to get the discussion here, or to get somebody to look at assessing something. Did I understand correctly? These were assessments? That's all of it. So we had to go through a notice of motion to get an assessment done on something. I just failed to see the logic in that, and I know the CAO chimed in. I might have said something there, but if you want to respond to that through the chair, because if that's the case, then I'll put a notice of motion here for the particular street as well, and then we'll just keep doing notice of motions, I guess.
Councillor McKay, just, no, yeah, we're going to let the, see how.
I'm going to also say that I 100% agree with what he's saying, and I think that's where our directors have more of a role now, where we can include them, where they might be able to get that communication a little bit better improved, or in a little bit more timely fashion.
Yeah. Thank goodness we're still not doing ditch infilling. Imagine if we had to go on notice of motions for streets that we'd have to ditch infill. Go, Helen.
Thank you. Through your worship, the reason why there is a notice of motion is because we need a mechanism to bring the decision to council, because otherwise we have 10 individuals that can all make requests for work of Public Works to reevaluate whatever streets at any times. And quite frankly, we don't have the resources to do that all year on your requests. So once a year, we vote on a list of the streets that we're going to do and we're going to pave. And if you want to reconsider that as a council and provide instruction to administration that we're going to focus on different roads, that's why there's a notice of motion for council to consider it. We have to be able to control the amount of requests that are made to staff. We just don't have the resources to conduct every single study, every single analysis that this group wants. So we have to prioritize it, and the way we do that is come to council and then have our notice of motions, and you get to have that conversation of whether this street is more important than another street. And in that process, Scott gets to provide the rationale of why it may or may not be. But that's exactly why we do a notice of motion, to cut down on the amount of work that needs to be done.
Okay, Councillor, just one second. Councillor Twill, second time. Go ahead. Yeah. Councillor McTarrett, second time when you come up. Okay. Hold on, Councillor Twill. Hold on. Go.
No? I do want to address this issue of operational, and it doesn't involve members of City Council. I don't know where that logic came from, or why it's been allowed to prevail here in the last couple of years. When we're asked by our residents that live on a particular street, they're asking, well, I've waited now 10 years and my street's still not paved. And it's a neighborhood street, and I've been more than patient. We're paying our taxes, but we're not getting the service. So, those are constituency issues. You can say they're operational, but we're elected to represent the constituents, and those are constituency issues. When we bring up issues like that, we're asking on behalf of the residents. So those are constituency issues. No different, Councillor McCabe, when you lobbied for the extension out behind the airport. I mean, you lobbied for that road, as Norwood Road, all the ways up to East Royalty Road. I mean, you lobbied for that, so this is no different than what we're trying to do here as well. We're trying to do a job here and represent our constituents in the most effective, efficient way, and we're trying to be consistent, and we're trying to ensure that that infrastructure work is done consistently and fairly, and we need to see the results of the criteria.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, for my second question. So CAO, thank you for that explanation. I certainly understand and the rationale behind that. You have to have some sort of organization around these requests. But I question then, okay, so sidewalks is no different. We all want sidewalks. We all want curbs. So are we going into a pathway of notice of motions for everything we're all competing for? So there's 10 boards that we're competing for. You said ditch infills is, we're not there. That would be crazy. But anyways, I guess maybe it's something we can all think about and take away here. As this notice of motion, there might be a better operational mechanism that might alleviate those concerns that you brought forward, because I don't think this is an MGA thing. I don't think it sounds more like a procedure. And to the chair, I guess I should be addressing this too. So I think, it's not going to stop. We all want something in parks. We all want something like playgrounds, and if that's the premise I'm hearing here, is that we're all looking for something and they possibly can't manage all those requests coming in. So I'm sure we're doing all the same for other things. So notice motions might delay, as Councillor Drawn said, you put one in and they got to wait 30 days to the next meeting and so on and so forth to even get some direction on it. But something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ramsey.
This is just a comment. I think, if I understand right, with the notice of motion, that Councillor Drong, when he brought it up, he just wanted an answer from somebody. Whether it was 30 days or just saying, yes, we are going to look at that so we can go back to the residents. I think that's all we're asking for. Like, we're not asking them to go and pave 6,000 streets and all that stuff. We just want an answer to tell John Doe down the road who called, yes, I got an answer from Public Works, they're going to go look at it. Thank you very much.
Councillor McCabe, do you want to wrap it up there?
I'm going to wrap up, but I'm going to let Eleanor clarify because her mic's on, and then I'll come back and wrap up.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's connected to the Municipal Government Act, because the way that council instructs administration and operations is through bylaw, resolution, policies, programs. That's how you instruct staff for what to do. So through the budget process, we came up with the street list that you're going to do. Maybe the sidewalk list. I'm pretty sure we did talk sidewalks.
We never That's where I'd like to clarify. We did, don't get frustrated, please, because it's important to be clear that we did not approve specific streets. We approved money at the budget time. So we didn't actually look, they had their streets based on the criteria that they used on their assessment. Yes. We just approved the amount of money, so we didn't approve specific
So
streets.
where we wanted to go with that,
just finish up, yeah.
where we wanted to go with that was that the street list is approved for the year. Because the reason why is the manager of Public Works is not to be lobbied. The lobbying happens at this table. The debate happens at this table in terms of the streets that you're going to focus on and the money you're going to spend. It's not who can influence Public Works to do the work. And an information request is, when was the last time this street was paved? Can you tell me how many potholes are on this street? A request is not, can you go and reevaluate this street and then report back to me the condition of the street? There is a big difference between that. And when you're doing that, you're instructing the manager to go and do work. And under the MGA, the only way you instruct operations to do work is through resolution, motions, policies, and procedures. Any other instruction for staff comes through me. And this is why you keep hearing me say that. And that's clearly outlined in the Municipal Government Act. So the notice of motion is your vehicle to take whatever your ideas are or whatever your needs are, to get it in this room for debate and to vote on. And the reason why you need that motion is because our procedural bylaw says that you can't vote on a motion unless a committee has considered it first. So that is how notice of motion came about, and that's the rationale behind notice of motion and the governance structure that we all work within.
Okay, do we have any resolutions? No. Oh, okay. Economic tour. You can take a break. Go ahead. You want some water? Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development, Councillor Trevor McKinnon. Councillor McKinnon, you're on the spot. Hold on, Trevor. Hold on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development Committee, we did not meet since our last regular meeting of council. The Arts Advisory Board met on July 18th, and minutes of that meeting is in your package. There's no resolutions for consideration this evening. However, I'd like to share a couple of the departmental highlights. The Atlantic Economic Council recently issued their Atlantic City Trends Report, which assesses economic trends and development. Charlottetown continues to be a leader in growth, which when it comes to population, labor markets, housing, and investment and tourism. Maclean's magazine has once again listed Charlottetown as one of the top cities to live in. Canada's Best Affordable Places to Live spotlights 10 Canadian cities considered on the rise, where access to great jobs and amenities are coupled with a benchmark housing price under the national average of $700,000. In celebration of their 20th anniversary, Downtown Charlottetown, Inc. recently launched a business honor roll. This prestigious list recognizes the staying power of downtown businesses that have been a vibrant part of the community for 2 decades or more. A big shout out to all downtown businesses. Charlottetown celebrated its 169th birthday earlier this month with a fantastic array of activities for residents during Natal Day weekend celebrations. Thanks to all staff, as well as mayor and members of council who contributed to making this weekend a wonderful success. Cinema Under the Stars returns to Victoria Park for 4 nights of free outdoor movies from August 28th to the 31st. Visit charlottetown.ca/cinema for more information. Gold Cup Parade returns to Charlottetown downtown this Friday morning at 10 a.m. This year's theme, A World of Color, is sure to excite. The city will once again have a parade float entry. Any councillors who are interested in participating in the float are encouraged to speak to tourism and event staff this week. A busy summer event season continues with Old Home Week currently underway, and National Acadian Day celebrations, and abbreviated Art in the Open, the Grand Fondo PEI, all scheduled to take place in the city before the end of August. And finally, Charlottetown is gearing up for an exciting new downtown Lightbox exhibit, coinciding with our hosting of the 2024 National Communities in Bloom Symposium and Awards this fall. Following a call for artwork, this attracted an impressive 202 submissions from 113 artists. An independent jury was chosen 20 talented artists to be featured in the newly retrofitted double-sided light boxes. Mark your calendars, the exhibit will be on display from August 26th to November 8th. That's a report. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them, and Manager Wayne Long and Laurel is here as well.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. As you know, we had joint meetings, Parks and Recreation, Economic Development. Resolutions were brought forward to the relocation of the farmers market to Confederation Landing. One of the resolutions which council supported unanimously was to have our city staff, fire, police, public works, economic development, look at a study and to look at recommendations of what it would take to make Queen Street safer and secure and address those safety deficiencies that was, I guess, the rationale to relocate the farmers market down to Confederation Landing. I'm not sure if you're aware of the progress report. I don't know if our manager is, but I wanted to bring it up here because it's been a few months now, and I'm just wondering, has departmental heads, or engineers, come together to look at a plan for Queen Street? I don't know if anyone can help me here, but I wanted to bring it up. Thank you.
Councillor Kane.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Twill. To my knowledge, there's not a report yet, but I do recall that conversation we had, and I thought a survey was going to be conducted by the vendors and the businesses at the end of the summer. Not yet, but I think it was going to be conducted at the end of the summer. But we'll ask clarification through Director Mr. Hughes.
Through the chair to Councillor Twill, staff have been discussing this issue since that motion was made, and we're striking an internal working group to evaluate the current infrastructure situation on Queen Street, taking a look at identifying safety requirements, accessibility considerations, the traffic and transportation management of the site, utilities and services, and then look at consultation with some of those key stakeholders moving forward. The final report back to council will include cost estimates on some of the infrastructure requirements to accommodate some of these events moving forward. So we anticipate trying to bring that back fall of this year.
Okay. Well, I've been down the last few Sundays, down at the Confederation Landing. Very positive remarks. Hope to see more expansion. And when we had the Charlottetown birthday party down there at the Founders Hall Park, Founders Hall was fully operational. Founders Hall Park was going full steam. The Confederation Landing, the Farmers Market, and Peaks Key. So it was a buzz. It'll be interesting to get a survey from our vendors and their new location. Is that it? Any resolutions? Okay. Okay, next one is finance and audit. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. The Finance Audit Tendering Administration Committee met last on August 7th. The minutes for that meeting is in your package. There's 5 resolutions for council's consideration, and I'll do my best to answer any questions from council on this report, and if I can't answer something, I'll defer to Betty French or Director of Finance Dan Jenkins. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Beck.
Yeah, thank you for your report, Councillor McAleer. In reading through this, I always saw various references to the outstanding balance of the emergency fund, basically the emergency fund. And I think it depended on when the report was written, and it seemed to be a bit of a moving target. Can we give just where we are with that emergency expenditure fund right now, because there was I saw it 5 or 6 times throughout there that funds are going to be drawn from the emergency fund or extraordinary expenditure fund. Can we just have where we are currently right now? Because I was just seeing different numbers all over the course of that whole report.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Just wasn't sure where you were going there. I know there was talk at the committee level, and another thought it might have been the gas tax or the CBF fund. But no, on the extraordinary reserve fund, Betty, I'll defer that to you if you would, please. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor. The balance on the Extraordinary Expenses Reserve Fund is $1.292 million. And with each drawdown, the total is updated. So I think there's 2 different totals that were given in there as they were drawn down. The drawdowns are in order of when I wrote the reports. Unfortunately, the reports ended up being in a different order, so I completely understand your confusion.
So as of now, today, we're 1.29 million.
Yeah.
If these 2 resolutions are passed. That is
Yes,
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
And would that be, did we originally allocate 1.5 million from that?
Yeah.
Is that what we started at?
1.5.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, in the past, we used to just draw from other accounts. Now we're going right to the extraordinary. But in the past, it was from different accounts. Okay, want to read the resolutions, John? We're going to go with the first one? Yeah, she's going to read it right now.
Increase usage fees, so.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Bernard. Oh, I have a different, Councillor Duran. That's whose signature I think this is. Yes, correct? He doesn't look so sure. Be it resolved that council approve a fee adjustment for city EV chargers to increase charger usage in Charlottetown, and that this be reflected in Schedule E of the fees bylaw.
Councillor Toronto?
Thank you for your report, Councillor McAleer. When you read this resolution, it seems that we're going to increase the fees, but in all reality, we're going to reduce them. Am I correct? But when you read it here, it says changes to increase charger usage. But unless you read the whole report, you'd be kind of lost. You'd be thinking that we're increasing. So I just wanted to bring that out, that we are reducing the rates here, just to give council an update on it. Thank you.
Okay. Questions called? All those in favor? 9-0.
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Durant. Be it resolved that Council approve the request for an additional $1 million in capital funding for the 2024 street resurfacing program, and that Package C tender be prepared and publicly advertised to hire a contractor to carry out the additional work. And further, that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. So Councillor Duran and Councillor McAleer, in the first two packages that we tendered, Package A was 1.65 million, Package B was 1.6 million, and each of those packages covered 14 kilometers. So if we look at $1 million, and I brought this up at committee, we may cover 10 kilometers. Like, do you want to go with another Package C and see what we get? Councillor Duran, because you second the resolution.
Yeah, sure. I'd be all for that. We got to play catch up, right? Got to find out where we're getting the money first. This was going to be tendered, and then we'll see where the money's coming from. So I certainly support that.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that we go to tender similar to a Package A and a Package B. And if it comes in at, well, no, if you budget $1 million, the two packages already come in. One at Package A is 1.665, Package B was 1.6. These are the previous packages that the paving's being done now. I just think we should go to tender with a Package C that covers the similar parameters. Later. Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Duran. I think essentially the way that this report reads and the resolution reads, I think essentially that council would be revising the capital budget to authorize another $1 million in spending, and that funding would come out of debt. So we have allocated our CCBF, and it essentially would be an addition to the capital budget. So we would have to, there would be some operational budget implications as well in terms of the interest and depreciation on that package, probably in the area of $100,000 that we'd have to take from the extraordinary expenditures as well. So this, because it's a resurfacing paving project, it is a capital budget item, so essentially you're increasing that capital budget.
Councillor Ramsey.
And I agree that we got to get it and sort of play catch up, but at the same time, if we approve that an extra $1 million bid, or Councillor McAleer, does that going to leave our fund with what, 200,000 at the end of the day?
No, this is capital.
This is capital.
The extraordinary expense is operational.
Yeah, but the first ones we're pulling from extraordinary, right?
Right, that's
So
all.
then you want to go with $1 million from where?
Paving is capital. We
Okay.
borrow the money.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, I know. That's if we spend all the money in capital debt. Councillor McAleer?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Just at the committee level, I supported the motion to get it up here to council, but and here it is. But my sentiments that I expressed at the committee level, I recognize that basically the committee by and large, is, is in approval of the resolution we have here in front of us. But I spoke against advancing it right now. We approved and settled on the 24-25 capital budget. Where this money's going to be found. I get it. Streets are in bad shape. I said at the committee level, and I'll say it here, we could probably spend all the capital budget on streets and still not have enough money. I think that, our budget's been set for this year. It's a challenge to balance it without getting, going any further. I think that, that the 25-26 capital budget, maybe we got to look at putting a bigger number in for streets. So I won't be supporting the resolution for that reason.
Okay, Councillor McCabe?
I don't disagree with Councillor McAleer, and we know that it is very expensive and that we've been playing catch up, and I know that we're trying to be more fiscally responsible and transparent, but I think we have to be realistic when we just had an hour debate on streets in the city. But I would like to know, like, when I read the report, where is this money? You just said we're going to cut operationally. We're going to have to be, take from here. Where? Because before you can decide if you want to borrow another $1 million, what's that going to impact?
Yeah.
That's information that I think would be helpful for us all to have
Yeah.
before we vote.
We added to our capital debt.
No, he's saying that there's going to be operational. Did you not?
Yeah.
I'm not cut off. But did I not just hear you say that there will be implications operationally, and is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor McCabe. So, yes, at budget time, as we were deliberating our big, $50, $60, $70 million capital budget, we wanted to demonstrate the implications for the operational side as well, both in terms of interest cost and depreciation, that we have to maintain a balanced budget. I think there's probably, next year, we'd be looking at a implication on the operating budget of about $100,000, give or take, just rough numbers, by this extra spending, because we will finance this, if it's approved, through additional debt. So we're going to have to borrow money and pay interest on that money, and then once we lay the pavement down, we're going to have to depreciate it, and those are expenses. So I think if we had to do it over again with this initiative, probably we would have brought a report from the Finance Committee which laid out the financial implications in terms of the budget. But I think there was a sense of urgency with this one. As the Director of responsible for finance, I'm not as concerned about this spending because it is an investment in our infrastructure, which is our primary service to our, we have fire, roads, recreation, policing, so it is an investment. If we don't spend it this year, we'll probably spend a little more next year. So I'm not as concerned about the implications as I would be about, something that was just a straight grant to somebody that wasn't giving us a lasting benefit for the city. So that's kind of where we...
Councillor Beck. Councillor Beck, can you just stand up?
Yeah.
Councillor Beck? Okay, good. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, and thank you, Danny, for that. And I guess for me personally, I would like, moving forward, those reports, that information in front of me when I'm asked to make $1 million vote, because for me, it's needed. So just if we could try and be a little bit more detailed when we're looking at these things.
Yeah, we want to fix the roads, we have to spend money.
Yeah, but we need to know,
No.
I think, again, it's the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, you...
What's that?
No, you understand it.
Yeah.
You sit on all these committees, your worship.
Yeah.
But for people that don't, and you can watch a meeting and you can do whatever, to have the information in front of you so that you can see it and make sure that you know what you're voting on.
Well, over the last 5 years, we've never spent all the capital debt, okay? So the 55 million, if we spend it all, that'll be the first time in my 5 years here, or my first time 11 years in council, so.
Yeah, and I'm glad, I understand you would understand that, maybe a little bit more than I do, so for me, it's seeing it. Thank you.
Okay, question? Oh, you have a question now, Councillor Beck? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just from reading it, I mean, it said that we should be, it seemed that what we approved was in keeping with what our spending should have been. They're saying that we should have been somewhere in the vicinity of $4 million to keep up. We put in 3.9, we budgeted 3.9 million, We spent 3.6 million of that. So, like, I just don't see where we go with this. Like, if we're saying we need $5 million, do it in March. And then we'll stick to that. This coming in here and saying, well, we need $4 million, and then saying 4 months later, oh, that's not good enough. That doesn't work for me. So I just think that what we should do is say, here's what we're allocating in the capital budget. If we go above that, if we're saying we need 4 to keep pace, put that in. If we have to put in more, then let's prepare for that next year. But just coming back and willy-nilly sort of coming in and throwing it at the last minute, I don't like that.
Councillor Twill?
I think you have to put it in its proper context. The budget, when you pass a budget, you pass it for that particular day. Again, it's a moving document. You're always making amendments. You're always making additions to the budget. It's not etched in stone that that's it, and you don't add as you move along. Certain circumstances come up throughout the year where you have to make adjustments and you have to adapt. You have to add additional funding, whether it be streets, infrastructure, it could be police officers, it could be playground equipment, sports fields, whatever the case may be. So it's a moving document, folks. That's the norm. That's the process. That's how it works. So just because you pass a budget, that doesn't mean, there's no flexibility or there's no room to maneuver and you don't add and you don't make amendments. So that's just the process of how it operates, how municipal governments operate.
Councillor Peck?
I can appreciate having to be nimble and be flexible and adapt. My point is that if Public Works is saying, they came and said, we need $4 million to keep pace. Whatever that target is, put the target in and be accurate. We have X amount of streets that we're trying to fix. We have a process that's in place. And if we have to say, in order to catch up, we need this amount of dollars, then we do that. I understand that there's always going to be, extenuating circumstances that are going to prompt a change. I just haven't been seeing that sort of extenuating circumstance in this particular instance. So that would be my overarching point that I would like to make, is that let's be honest and accurate in our assessments. Danny can give us the financial implications so that we understand what the borrowing costs are, because that does impact the operational side, as we came to learn during our last process. So anyway, that's my point. I'm not saying that we have to be rigid in everything that we do, but I think we have to be a little bit more realistic and a little bit more accurate. Thank you.
Well, there's many meetings I've been here in this chair. I've heard paving. I've heard councillors saying we have to put more money into it. And the Public Works Committee recommended, Finance has recommended it, and our Director of Finance is saying that, look, we can absorb the costs. We just have to get it done. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Again, just reference Councillor Tweel's remark. Again, Councillor Tweel maybe should be nimble, but I'm still, I guess, repeating myself. I think we set a budget. I think we should try and stay with it. I realize there wouldn't be enough money in the capital budget to fix the street problem in its entirety. Next year, maybe we have to look at a bigger number. So that's we have a decision to make if we want to stay the course, and if the vote comes and it's different, then we're doing something different. But I'm not in support of it. Again, okay. Thank you.
Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Yes. Okay. In favor of the resolution, please put up your hands. Okay. Those against? Okay. 7-2. Okay. Next resolution.
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Councillor Duran. Be it resolved that council approve the Port Charlottetown request for a grant in lieu of municipal non-commercial property taxes in the amount of $29,000, allocating $12,464 from the extraordinary expense reserve to fund this request. And the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Durant, Councillor Twill, and Councillor Bedard.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. This came up a couple of months ago, and we got the committee had received the financial statements from the Port Authority. I know last year, the year before, they were in rough shape. They were building a new berth down there, and you know, they needed money for things. But this year, I think they're in the positive financial section, about $1.2 million, $1.3 million, $1.4 million, somewhere around there. I mean, they've hired staff. You know, they're doing quite well. Tourism is up. You know, this is a big business. This big business has missed the grants bylaw. They came in afterwards. And, you know, we gave them money before, but that doesn't always guarantee that you get money every year. You have to show a need. I think here, with the Port is doing so well, I don't think we should be giving away an extra $29,000 to a business that is doing very well. So, you know, that's my thought on this, and I won't be supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Just a question to the chair. Can you give me a thumbnail sketch as to how the process unfolds when an agency like the Port Authority comes in and makes a request? Tell me what the criteria is and what you base your recommendation on, and what was the recommendation from senior staff?
Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. I'll take a stab at answering that. Since I've been sitting on council in this case as chair of finance, I understand that I don't know if it's been a policy, but the couple of major ports of entry for the city, the Charlottetown Airport, the Port Authority, have had the concession, I guess, of the grant in lieu of taxes for I don't know how long it goes back. Maybe somebody else in the room has a sense of that, but it's been going. It's been going for some time and continues. Well, I guess it depends on what we do with this resolution here tonight as it relates to the Port Authority, but presently the Airport Authority is treated the same way. I think if we're going to take a second look at this, I think it's important that maybe it goes back to committee and it gets looked at in terms of not only the port, but the airport, because we have the same agreement with or same understanding or grant in lieu of with the airport. But as it relates to the Port Authority, I had the benefit of, I've asked Mike Corcoran several months back about, I'd like to get a tour of the Port Authority sometime when there's some action going on. And anyway, to his credit, he said, no, we'll make that happen. And anyway, it did happen several weeks ago. He let me know, texted me and said there's going to be 2 ships in. And anyway, I just found it, I found it pretty enlightening as to what goes on with that, what goes on with that Port Authority. So just by way of information, Mike Cochran and one of the board members were part of, I don't know, I was probably down there for an hour and a half, and anyway, they just gave me some great context. And one of the concerns that they expressed was, or interest they expressed is in regards to City Council. They were saying, John, like, how can we engage? Like, what do you think Council wants of the Port Authority, and how can, and anyway, he was kind of asking me questions that I didn't have answers for to speak on behalf for you. But anyway, I asked Mike to send me a summary, if he would, after understanding and getting the tour of, would he send me his impression of what he thought the economic impact was of this Port Authority. So anyway, I'm just going to read some bullets. And he said I'm writing to provide you a comprehensive overview of significant economic impacts of the Port Authority, specifically in relation to the grant in lieu of taxes. The cruise industry serves as a powerful economic engine that not only benefits the port directly, but also has ripple effects that extend throughout the city and beyond by attracting visitors and agriculture and fishery export produce to cruise lines. Moreover, it plays a pivotal role in promoting and showcasing Canada's food island to an international audience. The tourism draw created by the cruise industry is a boon to tourism operators in Charlottetown, driving economic activity, creating jobs. Additionally, port operations play a crucial role in supporting the community by reinvesting in activities and infrastructure that enhance the downtown. Example, Port of Charlottetown's commitment in furthering this initiative, creating a community hub in 4 seas and destinations since its acquisition in 2018. Founders Food Hall is owned by Port Authority, and market has become a destination for all islanders with creation and application of community activations such as Sound of the Waterfront, Canada Games, Central Hub, Capital City New Year celebrations, Jack Frost, Deck the Halls, various nights throughout the year. These investments by Port Charlottetown are key to our continued promotion of Charlottetown as a must-see destination. And it's not only a hub for cruise ships, but multifaceted, for its transportation for all our, heating oil delivery, aggregate comes in through that port. So I just think that the Port Authority and take the airport, they're big capital operations that need gobs of money to keep to keep them going. And myself, I still feel the Port Authority is still in a development stage, which is a great benefit to not only the city but the province. And to context it, I know their balance sheet looks good. I know they got a bunch of money in the bank, but they're in a very capital-intensive business. And whatever work's done down there hasn't been thousands; it's been millions. And the demand, I know that they have application in for electrification, to electrify that port, because the whole cruise industry is based on, or a lot of it is, they're trying to get them on, off fossil fuels. And so these cruise ships are going to be looking at ports where they can get in and plug in. So we don't have electrification down there. But, and as Mike said to me here, he said, yes, they have an application in for green shipping. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but that's one of the reasons they need to be in a strong, they have to be a strong fiscal organization.
Councillor McAleer, can you just sum it up, because it's 5 minutes.
Okay, the marine world is a very expensive world to operate in. We expect to hear an application sometimes too. And so I just think in the meantime, it's not I shouldn't say it's not a whole lot of money, probably not a whole lot of money maybe in their world, but I think that we got to continue to support the the grant request. And if we're going to look at our policy for these airport in something like this, I think we maybe got to
You will be supporting the resolution. Okay, Councillor Mattard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just need clarification. With the grant program, if I remember, applications come in and we went through that vetting process and we agreed certain ones, and there's an allocation of money, 400,000, was there? 4, maybe 5? Somewhere around that area. So am I understanding correctly that the Port Authority come in after the fact? So does that also mean we've depleted, because I wonder why we're taking some of it out of the grant fund and some of it out of the extraordinary fund. So does that mean we've depleted the $400,000? Is that correct? And if so, then I would suggest the program is closed and we've allocated out all of their grant money for this year. So I need clarification on that so I can make my decision based on that, that information. Can you please?
Councillor McAleer, can he direct it through to Betty? Yeah.
Yep, thank you for your question, Councilor Tart. I'll defer that to Betty.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to the Councillor Matard. The $12,000 and $12,000 and change is the additional amount over and above the budgeted amount. That's why it's listed there as coming out of the extraordinary items reserve. And it's not exactly true that they were late putting their application in. They made their application at the November budget workshop, and it was, I think, the last page of the PowerPoint presentation was grants in lieu of taxes. But they didn't also make a paper or an email submission. Everybody else, we got something usually by email, so we had effectively an application for everybody. And since that was just in the PowerPoint presentation, it got overlooked. And that's a shortcoming that we're looking at overcoming next grant application season by actually having an application form, so it will be more standardized, because it came in a variety of ways. And this is the only one that didn't have something that came directly to finance by email or in paper form. That's why it got missed. It's not actually that they were late, they just submitted it in a different way and it got missed.
Okay. I just have to ask for a quick resolution to move the meeting beyond 8 PM to, well, let the clock keep ticking, so I need someone to moved by Councillor Beck, second by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor? Okay. Councillor Duran?
Thank you. I understand what the Port Authority does. It's great. They're doing very well. Instead of giving 29,000, maybe we could look at something with economic tourism, have some people down there or welcome people in. There's many things to do. But to give a business that's doing extraordinary well extra taxpayers' money, in my mind, it just doesn't sit very well. I understand there was a problem with the application, but again, if a business is making big money, why are we giving taxpayers money to it? I can't stress it enough. Thank you.
Councillor Twill, second time.
Yeah, I want to come back to the criteria. I asked, what is the criteria? What is the litmus test when you're evaluating a request like what the Port Authority has requested, and what does their financial forecast look like? And if their financial forecast is positive, do we continue entertaining requests by an agency like the Port Authority and other agencies throughout the city of Charlottetown? I'd like to get clarification on the criteria.
Councillor McAleer?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Twill, for that. There was a matrix that was used, which was a lens. Betty, if you could pull it up there. I know there was reference where there, shortcomings, positives, and where it fit strategic plan, what have you. Can you maybe pull that up and share with Councillor Twill what that lens looked like? Thank you.
Betty French, Manager of Finance.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Councillor Twill. Yes, there was a matrix, an evaluation matrix that was done. It wasn't part of the package this month, but this report came last month. I'm just checking to see if the matrix was included there. Yes, if you look at your July package, your July council package, the matrix is included there. I could bring it up on screen if you want to have a look at it.
Yeah, she's gonna bring it up. Okay, so. Yeah, well, there's the value, there's the questions, answers. Report is broad-based. Yeah. So another page to it, Betty? Okay, there's the last questions. So the grant goes back to 2014. 10 years. No, it goes up based on the tax assessment. No, Councillor Tweed, you had your two questions. Councillor Tweed, we should put this to the question called. No, questions. Yeah, I know, but you get everything there. Questions called? Okay. Questions called? Yeah. Who's in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Against? Okay. 7-2? Okay. Yep.
Because our private business is operating authority. So we're writing the taxes off for the Port Authority. Does that mean the Port Authority writes off the taxes for the businesses that are operating there? There's a lot of small businesses there that are trying to make a go of it. So, in essence, are we writing their taxes off as well?
Councillor Twill, I think we can take that under advisement.
I know, that's why I said it was very important.
No, but
that I asked that
you know
question.
the rules.
I
Two
know,
questions, and
I
everybody's
appreciate that,
involved.
sir.
Okay, we're moving on.
But it's very important.
Yep, I know. We'll see what we can do. Next one, please.
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Durant. Be it resolved that council approve allocating $70,085.64 from the Extraordinary Expense Reserve budget to fund the Arts Hotel and the Bio Alliance Incubator Tax Incentive Strategy Agreements approved April of this year. And that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Durant?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. There's a background to this. Like, when we approved this in April, I thought it was something moving forward. But if I'm not mistaken, this has been going on for like 4 or 5 years, right? And there was an agreement, an alleged agreement between these two companies and the former CAO. So I understand and I appreciate tax incentive to get businesses to come to Charlottetown and set up shop here, which is a great incentive, great for our staff, great for the city to get people coming in. So my concern is, why is it here? We never approved it over the last 4 or 5 years, but now we're going to take money from the Extraordinary Expenses Reserve Fund to give them the tax money. Why can't we just say, okay, starting from April of this year, when the tax season starts, then you don't pay the tax incentive. And that would decrease their money coming in. Why are we giving the money for the tax incentive? Like, this agreement is just coming now, right? So let's start it now and give them a declining tax base instead of actually giving them money.
Councillor McAleer, do you want to clarify it?
I'd defer that to Betty or Dan.
Does the tax, sliding scale tax exemption start now instead of 5 years ago? Either Betty or Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Duran. My understanding of the tax incentive is that it takes the tax value before construction and after construction or substantial completion when the reassessment takes place. So the tax incentive is based on the change from pre-construction to post-construction, and then for the next 5 years subsequent to that. So although this is late coming in, I think the calculations have been done based on what I think in the case of the Arts Hotel, I think it was finished around 2020. So it would have been our first year payment coming up would be based on the change from 2021. And that we're not going to, although we're kind of beyond the 5 years from the construction and what was incentivized, we're just catching up with the paperwork and providing the incentive, but we're not going to pay it all to them in year one. We're going to pay it out to them over the next 5 years. The $70,000 was an oversight, I think, in the operational budget process. We did have those numbers in advance of the budget being finalized. The director responsible and I had a discussion, and I left with the impression that we did have budget in economic development's budget for that tax incentive, but as it turns out, there was a little bit of mixed communication on it, so that wasn't provided. So the only place we can take it, because it wasn't in the budget, is from the extraordinary items expenditures budget line. It really is an obligation of the city based on the undertakings that were made previously. So it's not really one we can avoid, but we need to account for it properly, and that's why it's coming to council.
That's strong.
And I appreciate that, and thank you for the explanation. But it's my understanding that the agreement wasn't set in stone. It wasn't a contract. It was an alleged between the former CAO and these people. What I'm saying is now, rather than us giving them money, would they be interested in coming to the table and starting fresh from now until for the next 5 years is for their tax, rather than us giving them money? Is that a possibility?
Councillor McAleer, do you want to defer that? Yeah. Dan?
Certainly, that would be a possibility. It wouldn't be consistent with the way the tax incentive policy is written, and it probably would be more expensive. So if we looked at the pre-construction value and then the value, the next year after, as soon as the construction was done, let's say it was $1 million pre-construction and it's $1.5 million post-construction. Well, that $1.5 million after 4 tax years has probably gone up to, $1.6 million or $1.7 million. So we'd have a bigger gap to make up if we started today and move forward. So this is based on, what the tax incentive would have paid them in year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, had it been done back then. But am I correct in that, Director Mike? Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Ramsey?
Thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor McAleer. It's a sliding scale, is it not? And they're looking for 5 years? Because there's other properties, when I was chair years ago, they went from 10, 5, and a lot of them are paid off now. Am I assuming that's right? But this starts at 5 years and it starts now, is this correct? Okay, thank you very much for that clarification.
BioAlliance, the incubator tax, we had to change the policy, Councillor Drawn. I don't know, I think that was a finance and administration decision, or maybe it was economic development. We had to change it because it didn't include West Royal Industrial Park. So that was changed. And I think the BioAlliance, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, they wanted 10 years sliding scale. And we said, no, it's 5 years. No. We're not the Citibank out of New York. We're a city corporation. Okay. Question? Questions called. All those in favor? 9-0.
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Duran. Be it resolved that Council approve the insurance renewal for July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, as presented by Cook Insurance, Marsh, Canada, in the amount of $1,003,678, with a funding allocation from the Extraordinary Expense Reserve in the amount of $54,240 to fund the budget shortfall. And that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Ramsey, do you want to call the question, or I got a question?
Just have a comment. I wonder what kind of shape we'd be in without that extraordinary expenses reserved. Because everything we had here so far tonight is sort of milking that one, right? And if all of a sudden if we would have budgeted everything before we put that in there, like, we'd be in trouble. I mean, we'd be saying no to all these things. And that's just a comment. And the question's called to, Your Worship.
Yeah. This is the first year I've seen it used like this, because in past years, we just took it out of other revenue sources in the budget, so I guess this is an easy way to do it. Questions called? All those in favor? Okay. 9-0. Next one. Oh, that's it. That is it. Okay, let's move on here. Human Resources, Councilor Matard.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Human Resource Committee met on August 6th, 2024. The minutes are included in your package. There are no resolutions for your consideration tonight. However, there is a remuneration bylaw. It's attached for information purposes only, but I did want to make just a comment. Most recently, there has been the committee or the council approved changes to the remuneration bylaw maybe a month or two ago, and there might have been some oversight on some of our parts in a clause for benefits and severance. So many of you have been made aware that your benefits and severance that you receive from the city, where you had the option to put that into a personal RRSP or a personal tax-free savings account, has been reverted back to the intentions that it was intended for, was to go through the city's group plan, RRSP plan, and if you did not have that room or capacity within there, you would be able to use a tax-free savings account with the city group plan. So, there has been some discussion, and I sent out an email to all of council, kind of explain that as the chair of the committee. I only heard back from a few people, so it either leads me to believe that others are fine with the change that was made, and others would like to explore further options. So in speaking with our manager, I think it's, the bylaw is the bylaw, or where it's at now, and we would have to look to change that again if we wanted to go back to it. But I do think there are options within the group plan that you could either opt in for the RRSP component of it and or the tax-free savings component, but again, within the group plan. So I guess no more personal tax-free savings account or RRSP. Now, if it's the will of council as a whole to go back and revisit that and rewrite that bylaw, then I need to know that so that I can put that forward in our committee as a resolution to do so. So I hope I represent. The manager is here. If you have any questions, I see that Councillor McAleer has a question. So if there's any questions in regard to that, I'll do my best to address that. But I would like to either wrap this up as in, I've addressed it at council or committee level. This is our options. And for those who don't care about it, I guess we'll move on. But that's my report, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Matart. I was just curious on that point, the TFSA and the RSP, and I'm wondering, can it, maybe there's some reason for this that it can't be, but couldn't it not just be as simple as if you want to put it in a TFSA or an RSP, what's it matter? If what I'm understanding is it's, if you have RSP room, you got to use the RSP thing, but what's wrong with just making it optional, like TFSA or an RSP?
Well, I think
That's Matard.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor McAleer. Well, I think the obvious answer to that right now is the fact that the bylaw is not written to support that. So that would be the first thing we'd have to do, is address that, to go back to, say, status quo. And again, I don't know what status quo. I don't know if everybody in council was doing something at a personal level, or if some were opted in for the city plan versus the personal one. I think everybody might have been in their own personal way, but so again, I think it's administratively there's an administrative component to managing that personal aspect of it when you're contributing to your own personal thing. So I think to answer that, it's just strictly, it's six of one, half dozen of the other. We just need to figure out if, as the will of all of council, I guess I just don't know how to, I've only, like I said, received comment back from a few people who wanted me to explore it further. So, Emily, if you feel there's no other, from a tax perspective and from a legislative, I guess, perspective that requires us to go either way there, right? Yeah, so it's really, we'd have to go back to this bylaw and revisit it and change it back to, now, I think with the group plans, that's the way it was always intended. There is a backstory to how we got to where it was, and then I think they tried to right the ship and bring it back to in line with those contributions going into the city's plans. There was a circumstance that took it away from there a couple of years ago that changed the bylaw and so on and so forth. But so I hope that addresses your question.
Councillor McCabe?
Thank you, and lucky enough I sit on that committee, so I could be part of it. I would suggest that we bring it back. There was enough people that kind of had some different ideas, different thoughts, that it's certainly how it was intended then, how it's intended now, what can work, both for staff, for council. It would be worth bringing it back to our committee for sure.
Councillor Bedard?
Thank you for that, Councillor McCabe, and I'll do that. So what I'll finish off with, for those of you who did not have an opportunity to respond, if you could please do so if you feel a need to, and I'll be able to take those comments back to our committee meeting and as a collective majority at the very least to determine if that's what we're going to look for. So I will take no response as there's no concern on your part, or you don't want to address anything, you don't want to add anything by the time our next meeting comes, and I'll just take what information I have forward based on that. So thank you.
Councillor McAleer, second time.
Thank you, Councillor Tart. It's great. Again, I would just, it's not a biggie or an urgency for me, but I just think if it's possible to do in time, that if it can be, it has to be a bylaw thing, that if it's easy to make it optional, to TFSA or RSP, both are great vehicles, got, good purposes. So if it can get there, to me, that would make a whole lot of sense, and I'd like to think a lot easier to handle administratively. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you want to sum it up there? Oh, no, go right ahead there, sir, go right ahead.
Thank you. So again, I'll just wrap up, and that's the end. I just want to say it's the end of my report. If there's any questions outside of what was in there, I'll do my best. I kind of jumped right into this particular topic, but there's anything else, let me know. Thank you.
Oh, as always, a very good report, as always. Councillor Beck, did you want to have a question about the report?
Yeah, just a question. So if it goes, I haven't put a lot of thought into this, to be honest with you, but at the end of the day, if it goes and it does get invested into the city, into the city RRSP plan or whatever, at the end of the day, after my term is over here, do I just make a request and say, can you transfer that money over to my personal portfolio? Is that how that works? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, don't worry. You do you want to wrap it up with Henry? Okay, just up there, Councillor.
I think just to
Is this the addendum to the
I
report?
think just to address that, I mean, he asked the manager directly, who you can't hear from across the room, so I think we would just owe it to the rest of us to indicate that. No, that's fine, I wasn't pointing that out, the fact you did that, I'm just saying, so yes, the answer to your question is, and I had the conversation with Emily, is that if you are enrolled in the city group plan, then yes, when, at some point, if you feel you want to exit out of that, you would go directly through payroll, and they would work you through the process of, your TFSA or your RSP. So I just wanted to make that note here. I don't know if it was heard when the question was answered. So thank you. I'm now finished. Let's move on to the next report.
No, thank you very much. That's your last amendment to the report. Thank you. So we'll go to the Protective and Emergency Services. Police Commissioner, Chair, that must be Councillor.
The alarm just went off there, Your Worship, so thank you. Protective Emergency Services Committee, we met on July 24th. The minutes are in your package. There is no resolutions for your consideration. Willing to answer any questions that come aboard. Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon.
Councillor Ramsey, you knew this was coming. question for yourself. I keep getting asked, and I keep asking you, and we keep being delayed on this new fire station. Underwriter story keeps getting put back. Why is it getting put back? When can we ask for a deadline? When can we actually start moving forward to building ourselves a new fire station?
For your question, I believe the deputy chief's here, and we're supposed to get the report, I think, from the underwriters by the end of August, isn't? But I'll refer that to, or defer that.
Okay.
Deputy Chief.
Deputy? Thanks, Your Worship. Councillor? Committee Chair? Yes, we're expecting our report to be completed at the end of August. I will have some more information on our meeting next week.
Okay.
Not impressed with that answer, but anyway, because we've been waiting for it for years ourselves, but the underwriters are a different kettle of fish, and we got to wait for them, and we're going to go from there, and as you said, we're hoping to have their report finished by the end of August, and we are meeting next week. Thank you.
Thank you there, Councillor Ramsey. Okay, Parks and Recreation, Councillor Mitchell Tweel from Ward 4. Councillor Tweel. You got a resolution?
We do have a resolution for council's consideration. Just a couple of highlights. We had an exciting opening for the pickleball courts, the outdoor pickleball courts, last Thursday evening. We had an excellent turnout, first ever pickleball courts here in the city of Charlottetown. The pickleball community was very, very impressed, and I think it's a sign of good things to come. Our staff has done a terrific job recruiting the company that did the actual transformation from the tennis courts to the pickleball courts. Resolution will be coming here regarding signage for the new Simmons Arena. And the opening date for Simmons Arena will be October the 14th. October the 14th. Mark that on your calendar. Some sad news. We had a young citizen pass away late last week. Personal friend of the family, Joey Matheson. He's been a permanent fixture at Simmons Arena. He's been a coach, mentor, just an all-in-all a great citizen. He even won an award at Palliative Care, the Winterford MacArthur Award. Just to give you an idea of how wonderful this young gentleman was. Gone too soon. And Joey loved Simmons Arena, and he was looking forward to the new Simmons Arena. He was there the last day that the ice was in at the old Simmons Arena. He was there with his children, and I'm going to bring this back to Parks and Recreation, but in terms of the opening of Simmons Arena, I'd like to pay tribute to Joey Matheson for being such a good citizen and what he's meant to the hockey community and the young participants that he coached. He loved coaching. He loved going to tournaments. And it's unfortunate that Joey's not going to be here for the opening of Simmons Arena. So I want to pay tribute to Joey Matheson at the opening of the new Simmons Arena, among other constituents here in the city. But this is very tragic. So, Frank, if we can put that down to discuss at our next committee meeting, maybe a bit of a nice little tribute and send off to Joey Matheson. Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon, the question?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Thank you for your report, Councillor Tweel, and I think that would be a great tribute for the family of for Joey Matheson. I'm also getting requests for pickleball in Winslow. Is there any plans on expanding your program of the pickleball into other rinks, either West Royalty or Winslow, in cooperation with the Lions Club?
Councillor Tweel.
In terms of communication with the Lions Club, I'm not aware of any, but I'll tell you one thing, Councillor McKinnon, we're very open. We're open to having those dialogues and discussions. As I'll reiterate what took place last Thursday night, the community was very, very enthusiastic about the pickleball courts, and we can expand pickleball courts here in the city and work with service groups like the Lions Club. By all means, we're certainly open to and entertaining those partnerships. I hope that's a bit of help.
Councillor McAleer.
Councillor Twill, yeah, no, thank you for your report. And again, kudos to you and your team, the Parks Department on the pickleball piece. Like it's a huge, like for, just confirm with Frank there, like for $60,000 to have the kind of impact and get the kind of use that's going to have, it's a great return on $60,000 for recreation, because we all know how big a sport that is, and there's all kinds of demographics using it. So again, congratulations to you and the department. Well done, and looking forward, of course, to the opening in Simmons. It's going to be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Resolution?
Moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised request for proposals, Simmons Sports Centre signage package, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $50,013.26 plus applicable taxes from Hanson Signs, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, Councillor Twill.
Once again, our staff through a process, and they did a rating system, and they selected this particular company. And if you had a chance to look over some of the designs, the new Simmons Sportsplex or sports arena, it's a real nice signage, and to my mind, it pays tribute to the to the gift that the Simmons family has paid to the residents of this city, the contribution that has been made, acres and acres of land in the heart of the city, and this is a nice recognition. It's a real nice, I think it's a real nice signage package, and certainly looking forward to when it's finally installed in the new arena.
Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, again, thank you, Councillor Twill. Just on the signage package, and as look at all the renderings and the pics from, I'm just scrolling through it here. Am I right in understanding that everything we're kind of seeing here in the renderings is what we're getting for the $50K or the contract? Is that correct?
Councilor Macker, yes, that's correct. So what it is, we've used the city's visual identity policy to actually direct us and guide us on what the signs are to look like. So what's in the package is all the different types of signs that are needed throughout the building. So.
Okay, Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you for that. Yes, I was going to ask the same question. Like, that's for all your small signs, like dressing rooms and washrooms and everything. That's just not the big Simmons sign. No. That's for everything that's included. Yeah. Correct?
Correct, Councilor Ramsey, for everything.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Twill, for your report.
Question called? Questions called by Councillor Drawn. All those in favor? 9-0. Okay. Is that it? Okay, strategic priorities. Councillor Norman Beck, Ward 3.
All right.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
July 10th was the day we met. Information is in your package. One resolution for you. Any questions? Go ahead.
Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Just a quick one. I sit on this committee, and I just noticed that we had all agreed in committee that the report would be updated to reflect that we are not rebranding, and that language still is in the recommendation. So That was a detailed discussion we all agreed on, so that we're not misleading the public when they read that down the road. Heidi agreed to it, we all agreed to it, so I'd like to have the report updated to reflect that we're not using the word rebranding, we're going with what the wording is in the resolution. Thanks.
Councillor Beck?
Yeah, you are correct. I think under the PERT, the committee recommendation, because we did talk about that, is this a rebranding, or what are we actually doing, or what are we trying to accomplish? So I think the committee recommendation pretty much summarizes that we are supporting the installation of the banners.
Right, correct.
And that's really what we agreed upon for wayfinding purposes, marketing purposes. So the original request came from Discover Charlottetown to rebrand as the entertainment district, and then through the course of that discussion, it became that we would support the installation of the banners, because banners are typically up for a shorter period of time, like wintertide, ECMAs, whatever it might be. So this would be the understanding. These would be permanently on that block between Great George and Prince, and then halfway into that block between Prince and Hillsborough. So that's where they would end up with the permanent wayfinding banner. So
Yeah, and again, just to support what the DM is, the deputy mayor is saying, the entertainment district, I know that we've looked at like the Mayfair, other streets like Bourbon Street, New Orleans. Hopefully we can come up with something that will be particular to that area. I think Dan Jenkins was talking about Johnny's Mayfair, just even something that brings attention to historic components or historic parts of what the downtown was like.
yeah, and I think at the end of the day, there seemed to be general agreement from Discover Charlottetown, from Mike Ross, who spoke on behalf of the establishments that are listed in the package there, that those are the finer details that they can work on, and they've established that they are willing to look at that, see if we can come up with some significant, meaningful historical connection to connect the past to the present.
Yeah.
In the interim, these banners will be there to say you are in the entertainment district. And whatever comes in there, the entertainment district is still going to be quite prominent in all the little templates that were put forth too. So I think it's exciting. It's a good initiative, and hopefully we can come up with something that can connect our past to our present and future as well too. Thanks.
Okay, want to read the resolution there? CAO Eleanor Mohammed, please. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Beck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Be it resolved that council support the installation of year-round banners on a portion of Kent Street between Great George and Prince Streets, and Prince and Hillsborough Streets, westernmost portion of the block only, informally identifying Kent Street as an entertainment district for marketing and wayfinding purposes.
Okay, questions called. All those in favor? Okay. I know we're ready to go there, Councillor Drawn, but I just want to highlight one thing about our planning. Last month, up to end of July, we had close to $118 million in building permit values. And last night, watching the national news, for June 2024 building permits for Canada, Prince Edward Island was up 96%. And a majority of that would be in the Charlottetown area. Nova Scotia was down by 12.3. New Brunswick was down by 25%. So it's booming here, and that's good, positive news. Motion to adjourn? Thank you.